Y'all ready?
Oh, come on, Smokey, Smokey the Bear.
And we should be live. Hey, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Trying out a lot of different things here. So we'll see how well we can get this to work. See, we've got 2 vantage points, 2 cameras. Give a good look here.
Hey, guys.
Y'all ready?
Sweetheart.
Let's see. Where's that go? How is the volume? So we'll get Charlie and Eugene. They're the furthest away from the microphone. Can y'all speak? And
Hello. That was so low. Come on.
Yeah,
you
you
do
do.
it like you're
yeah,
passionate. That's
you talk
better.
louder than
Hi,
that.
everyone.
Hi, everybody.
Charlie's always loud.
How's the audio? Can you hear everybody okay? We've got Christy, Emily, Tyler Newcomb, Debbie, Coach Kathy, Marty Landau. All beautiful people. Hey, Shani. Shani's in the chat.
Hi, Shani and
Hi,
Dante.
Hi,
Shani says
everybody.
good volume. Okay, great.
Great.
Awesome.
And Aragorn from the UK, it's 2 a.m. So I told him, you make sure you sleep in tomorrow.
Thank you for being here, everyone.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. So this will be the first of hopefully many of these fireside chats. And
Oh yeah, we're gonna need it in the coming weeks and months. It's gonna get cold here at night.
So welcome.
yeah, welcome.
Welcome to part of our homestead.
So you want to start?
Very lovely. Well, no, I think we should just start with some current events about what's happening in the world. That's what we always want to do with it's just us with you, with God around the campfire, and it's really beautiful. So what we sort of want to do for the show is current events, things that are going on, and then we'll dive into the general theme of the show. But the show can go anywhere it wants and its needs to. The show tonight, the title that I created for it was that Jesus Christ, and he taught the Kundalini Rising, which is the one story, which is the alphabet from A to Z. And we're going to point that out, and everyone is going to share their passion, wisdom, gnosis on this subject. But before we start, there are a lot of things that are going on in the world. And Colleen, I think, wanted to talk a little bit about all the explosions and fires that are happening.
Or that have happened.
Yeah, and wasn't it Pier 66 in San Francisco?
Pier 45.
Pier 45? Was it Pier 45? Okay, Pier 45 in San Francisco, which has long been suspected as an entry point for the Clinton Evergreen cargo ships and an import-export location for children.
Oh yeah.
And that was a massive explosion.
Do you want me to play that video?
That would
Oh,
be great.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay. What a great way to start the show, folks.
Downloaded earlier.
First, there was a fire.
Yeah, this video is wild. Get ready for this.
Also, what's happening in Paris?
Yeah. Oh,
What's
fantastic.
happening? What's happening?
First, there was a fire, a huge column of smoke rising from Beirut port. Then, a massive explosion. The force of the blast was so strong, its shockwaves blew out glass and tore buildings across the city.
What did they report? What did the news report? Yeah. Fireworks plant caught on fire too close to a fertilizer storage plant. Okay, the bullshit meter's really deep on that one. What happened is this. I'm not going to write the name down here. These are 3 cargo container companies that we've identified as child trafficking companies. One is owned by Hillary Rodham Clinton's foundation. One is owned by Paul Pelosi, Nancy's husband. So we went into Pier 45 in San Francisco. We burned it to the ground.
Fire, smoke, and explosions. Witnesses say this intense firefight started out from what may be the explosion of a small propane tank at 4:15 in the morning.
In Beirut, in Hong Kong, the fires in Brussels at the World Trade Center, several other big major fires that have happened in the last couple of weeks. We've been taking out evergreen all over the world. In Beirut, since we trained Mossad, Israeli military industries, we sent them into the tunnels to rescue all the children under about 2.5 square block area. They even had an underground hospital, underground dormitory, underground everything. Lots of children under there. And we sent them in, and they came out, and they lit the place on fire, and that's why you saw smoke long before the missiles hit. It was on fire. It's pretty hard to burn down concrete and steel. But these are concrete structures. Okay? They're filled with evergreen shipping containers, and underneath is child trafficking tunnels all over underneath. They'll lead clear into the city, mainly led into this building, so the trucks can back up over here and pick them up. So they went in there, they rescued the kids, they set the building on fire. So the object of the game is this, is to not only destroy it, but it's to expose it.
They know that there's a labyrinth of subterranean chambers here. They've discovered the opening of just one of them. And if you come a bit closer, you can see the top of what looks like the ceiling of one.
How about that?
I think it was just the propane tank myself.
Yeah.
This
Or
whole
the-
conspiracy thing.
The fertilizer explosion.
A small propane
The
tank.
fact that they put the fireworks place too close to the
To the fertilizer, I know.
yeah, so it's just all of the truth will be disclosed, and as you can see now through all of the different anons and digital warriors, it's just pouring forth, isn't it?
Yeah.
The 9/11, all of that information and more information that we've never had disclosed before, so it's really interesting.
Yeah, well, just the fact that they blatantly lie so obviously, or it seems obvious now, but then you look back to September 11th, 2001, and how they just told such blatant lies at that point, and most people believed it. You know, like I was a kid at the time, I believed it at first, but vast majority of people, but that was kind of like that thing that shook us free from the spell. That was the initial kind of like rattling, and then so I can only imagine how often they lied to this extent prior to that event, and people just believed every single word that they said.
You know, it's funny because when the moon landings didn't happen, there were so many people that actually didn't believe it. And it's not just that it was, you know, a bunch of hillbillies that just couldn't fathom it. People like us who just went, something's wrong. This doesn't seem right. It just doesn't all compute. So there were many, many people. My parents were one of them, and they just had a suspicion, and they never trusted government. And most people, especially the rural type people, they just didn't. They didn't trust government, and that's why they were in their profession. They could see outside, and they weren't living in the cities. And it's easier when you're not being programmed daily. You're living in nature, but yeah. So I think that all of these events, there's always been those little groups of people that buy in fully, but there's a lot of them that just go, and then they store it away because you just get so busy with life, right? And you just, yeah, it's just too much to deal with almost for a lot of people. So I can imagine how some people are feeling at this point, but hopefully with this vaccine thing.
Like you nailed it with like just not wanting to deal with it, because that's what this whole like transition that we're going through is about, is taking responsibility. We have to take responsibility for all of it. It's not just, oh, well, it doesn't immediately affect me and my family.
Yeah.
If it's wrong,
It's
has to
wrong.
be, it's wrong, and it has to be called out. It has to, something has to be done about it. Otherwise, it's just a disease that spreads, you know. Not that our current model for diseases is accurate at all, but if we can imagine that is a real thing, the disease has to be cut out when it's identified. But yeah, like you said, people just didn't. It's that mini-me Satanism that Shelley talks about. You know, it's like, I'm not going to worry about it because it doesn't affect me in my immediate, or I don't think it affects me, so it's not my problem. And
Till it comes knocking on your door.
yeah, until it gets to this point where we're here and we have a lot of things to do. You know, if we had just done those little things along the way, it would never have gotten to this extent. It would have never gotten this far.
Exactly. And that's interesting that you bring that up, because we watched a movie last night with Mel Gibson. And in the movie, and what was the name?
Edge of Darkness. Yeah,
And
one of his best.
wow, brilliant movie. I just love this guy so much. And the people that made it. So in it, I don't want to give too much away. I never want to spoil it, but I kind of have to. The fact that he said to one of the bad cops, he's like, you have to always do what's right, regardless of he says, even if it's your family. And he said, yeah, even if it's going to affect your family. When you know you have to do the right thing, you have to do the right thing, right? It was just.
Yeah, what Mel Gibson was just saying in a really pivotal scene towards the end, that, and what Mel Gibson, when you watch this film, you're going to ask yourself the question that we kept saying last night, which is, how does this film get made? So there's no way that this is the cabal putting truth in plain sight. They don't work that way. They hide truth in and amongst sort of nefarious shows, meaningless shows, or in certain scenes. This entire movie was hitting you over the head. And just to give you like the basic premise to the show is that his daughter is working for a very, very evil corporation in just outside of Boston, Massachusetts. And what they make very clear in this movie is that this company, which is storing materials that can turn into nuclear weapons. So this would be like, you know, uranium-238 or whatever, things along this line. That's all they're supposed to be doing. And
Research and development.
Research and development. And then what comes to be found, this is staggering stuff, because this was 2010, everyone. And in the movie, what they're saying is that they're making all of these dirty bombs and these little mini nukes for all of these terrorist organizations around. That's okay. For all these different terrorist organizations around the world, but they're American made, and that they're making them in such a way that they'll look like that they are Iranian made or Iraqi made, or, you know, whatever.
So telling the truth.
And then when Mel Gibson begins to investigate the murder of his daughter, because she was aware of what was going on, and got shut down by every level of lawyers and political members, because they're all in tow. And so when they do this, and Mel Gibson meets with this head of this one company, on his wall, now this just gives it away, on his wall shows him shaking hands warmly and in group photos with he and Bill and Hillary Clinton, he and George Walker Bush, he and I think George Soros. I mean, it's just the collection of the worst people and the biggest political names. Nancy Pelosi, and we just saw in that clip that one of the hangars in San Fran was owned by Nancy Pelosi's husband. And so, yeah, there's a picture. So what the filmmakers are showing you in plain sight is that is that this company in Massachusetts was making all of these weapons to allow this pay-for-play scheme under Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State for Barack Obama to occur. And if some of you don't fully understand what I'm sharing with you here, is that what's become very clear is that Hillary Clinton was running a made-for-profit organization out of the Obama office. And she wasn't the first to do this with the office of Secretary of State. That's why Secretary of State has become such a big deal, because what it allows you to do is use American children, American soldiers, to help create non-existent problems and then help fight in various wars so that these various companies could then profit from. So all they had to do was kick to the Clintons 500 million, 300 million, 250 million, whatever it was. And then the Clintons would go to work using the full force of the Pentagon and the American military machine to be able to create events, to create problems, to create wars, and then have our own kids fight. And these would be wars for missile companies and armament companies and just anyone who had the money to pay for the play. And that's what has been going on. And these filmmakers made that abundantly clear, and the extent that they will go to. And sort of towards the end of the movie, Colleen was just talking about the scene between the two cops who were long time.
Mel Gibson and his.
Yeah, Mel Gibson and probably one of his partners from the past, and they were very close. And he said to Mel, he said, none of this is as it appears to be. All of this isn't about the truth. It's what it can be made to look like. So, you know, that boyfriend of your daughter's who died, they're going to pin the murder on you. And he said, there's no evidence, but it doesn't matter. It'll all stick. And he said, that's just the beginning. It's worse. And then he just laid out the entire scenario for Mel Gibson. You're going to lose your house. You're going to lose your job. You're going to lose your pension. You're going to exhaust yourself. And he said, even if you do win at that criminal level, then they'll attack you civilly in a civil lawsuit, and you will not have any money left to be able to even defend yourself in the system. So they're simply showing you, and this is Edge of Darkness, directed by Martin Campbell. Wasn't made in Hollywood. It was actually a mini series on BBC, and then it was turned into a movie out of the mini series by BBC. So BBC Film Division made this into a movie, and the director and writer was Martin Campbell. And no, the director was Martin Campbell. The writer was Troy Kennedy Martin. So there's a lot of interesting names.
Who's since passed.
Yeah, who apparently has since passed. And Troy Kennedy Martin, who wrote, also was responsible for writing Kelly's Heroes with Clint Eastwood back in, I think that was 69. And we've touted that movie as a very important movie to watch as well, because they were showing you what was going on with kind of like a pay for play with the US military in World War II as well. And how the answer was for these soldiers to wake the F up and to start taking, so to speak, the law into their own hands. And if they're going to be there being shot at and killed, they might as well do things for themselves, which is what they did. So there's a lot going on. How anybody with a straight face can deny that we are deep, and I mean deep, into the explosion of this movie into an all-out reveal, which will lead to the Great Awakening. I don't know how you could do that. I honestly don't know how anyone could lie to your face on a podcast and tell you that none of, there's nothing going on. This is insanity, what's going on. And like we talked about earlier on the show with the Q&A with Justin, the video out of Acapulco while the earthquake was going on and all of that flashing of a very surreal blue light coming off
Did we show
off
that
the
video?
ocean.
I don't think we showed it. I did put it in the show notes.
Okay.
I can show it real quick if we
Yeah,
want to.
that'd be great, because it's amazing.
What it just goes to show you, and remember what in the video that Justin just played for you, you remember how the person who was giving the presentation, how he said, it's not just happening, but it has to draw attention to itself. So the point is that they don't want these things to just happen. They want you to be aware that they're happening. So they're being done in a fashion. So therefore, the earthquake in Acapulco, as Colleen and I suspected at the time, was fake, was man-made, and is likely a series of massive explosions.
Because you can imagine Acapulco, which is huge CIA country.
We've always shared this with you. Mexico City, Mexico is
Hugely
owned by
criminal.
the CIA, and Mexico City and Acapulco are two cities that were completely owned, controlled by the CIA. Don't doubt this, know it. Completely owned and controlled, run by the CIA.
It's just a short little video. So you can see all these strange explosions, and of course, if you ask the news, they would say there were some electrical surges or something like that. They said that about the explosions in New York City that happened, the big blue explosions that happened. It's almost a year ago at this point, I think. I'll play it again just because it was short, but you can see.
There was another view that somebody had.
Yeah, I showed you another one.
Uh-huh.
Do you want me to pull that one up too?
Yeah, it's kind of in a distance, and it shows the whole thing. It's really,
This one's fascinating too.
it is.
Let's see if I can find that one.
Yeah, no, what's happening in Bali is just amazing. It's like the people are chasing the cops away, and
Wow.
and it's like complete a breakdown.
That's amazing.
And what's happening right now in Paris, Eugene? Did you see any of the footage?
Well, yeah, exactly. Like the
Checking out this
people
one.
that are
Gone.
like kind of standing up against like the pharma fascist government.
Yeah. And there's one station in London that is broadcasting live from Paris with the Paris riots that are going on right now.
Oh.
And I'll bet you somebody in the show notes or in the chat room will be able to provide that link.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, you can even feel the tension in the air.
This rally, and the policeman was like, it almost looked like he was in tears, and he was completely on their side, and he was just shaking his head, and he's like, yeah, you're right. And I was just like, holy cow, that's amazing, because they were talking about human rights and how can you do this, and you need to make a choice, and you shouldn't be working for these corporations, and
There was,
and we are the law. God's law is the law. The land is the law, not these other man-made laws that are not set up for human.
Which is positive law, which is doesn't come naturally. Someone has to
Exactly.
come with a book and write something down. So
It was beautiful.
yeah.
So just in case anyone missed it, this is from the same night where we had the earthquake here in Miocatlan. So this was apparently the epicenter of the earthquake, which was pretty intense here. So I can only imagine there.
7.4, they say.
Mhm.
Wow. It's
a good number.
Yeah.
Well, does
11,
anyone,
right?
well, 11, but also the gematria of Jesus
God intervention.
and Joshua is 74.
It's true. So of course it was 74.
Yep.
74.
Nikki123 asks, what are those lights? We don't know. I mean, your guess is as good as mine. It's interesting that those lights were flashing at the same time of the supposed earthquake. So what were those explosions? Were they taking out some sort of infrastructure, or we don't know.
Energy weapon of
What-
some sort.
Yeah, what my guess is, everyone, is that the flashing blue lights were there to sort of generally mimic an electrical storm, but to cover. And if you look closely, especially at the one that lasted longer, you'll see very violent, almost orange lights, and those are explosions. And so I think that the blue electrical storm was designed to sort of cover up the fact that it was a series of explosions. And the thing that we just wanted to share, I was sort of raised in Victoria, British Columbia, so I know a lot about earthquakes. We have a lot of earthquakes there, and earthquakes, they just don't last that long, and especially because we're a fair ways away from Acapulco. It's quite a distance, and that was an enormous earthquake here. And it began to that's where Colleen was getting really concerned, is because it began to grow in intensity. And a typical earthquake will last anywhere from sort of about 3 or 4 seconds to about 11, 12 seconds. That would be a long tremor. And this one was pushing past 30 seconds. It was on its way to a minute, and it was growing, and then so it's a concern. So I think that's what was happening. But the fact of the matter is, what we just wanted to start the show with and share with everyone is the fact that all of this is exploding. So what you need to just sort of realize is that everything that's been going on under our nose for the last 110 years is like an incendiary device, and they have lit the fuse. And so now these things are beginning to explode. That's why you're seeing explosions and fires, because the powder keg of evil that has existed is catching fire.
The hounds of hell
The hounds of hell.
are getting blown up.
Yeah, and it just goes back to that allegory of building your house on rock or sand, because our entire reality was built on lies. It was built on this fragile substance. It is so temperamental that as soon as you pull that first thread, it just all comes crumbling down. It all blows up or falls apart. It's a house of cards, literally. It's a
short circuit.
Yeah, it just blows away. So
Right.
again, going back to why it's so important to build your foundation on the truth. If you want something to last, it has to be built on the truth. It has to be built on God, and if not, then it's always going to get to this point. And that's kind of the poetic justice that God has set up within this reality, is there's no way for this sort of nefarious side of our left carnal mind to ever win.
Oh yeah.
Because as soon as it starts building its foundation on lies, which is the only way that its program knows how to do, it's already setting itself up to fail eventually at some point or another. The only thing that it can do is delay that inevitable failure, which is what all they're trying to do now at this point, is to delay that inevitable outcome. So, but yeah, it's just
It's like usury. There's no way out of it.
Yeah. Right. It has to come crumbling down. Like there's no way. And no remedy to that except for just get rid of it.
That's right. So it beautifully said. And so it's an incendiary device. It's a powder keg. The fuse has been lit. It is a long fuse because it is a movie, but it's been lit, and there's nothing that can stop it at this point. And you just need to be prepared, and you just need to be okay, and you just need to trust. And I cannot stress this enough in terms of, and I said this to everyone when we had done just a teeny weeny bit of research on -48. But I said at the time that this is the single best calm that the many have received is negative 48, because negative 48 is obviously playing a role, regardless of who he says he is or isn't. At the end of the day, like Batman, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter that Colleen and I have been the ones that have been in that corner by themselves, just blatantly telling the truth, while everybody else has been trying to tell a little bit of truth or sugarcoat it and stuff. And the reason we did that is because there has to be someone to give you the fullness. For those that really, 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 really want to hear the truth and the fullness of the truth, then that's why. And that's why a lot of you have said to us that you must be part of the team, and you must be part of the plan. And if we have become, it's only because we stumbled into it. So but
how could you not want the whole truth and nothing but the
Yeah.
truth? How could you not?
Only if you have ulterior motives. If you have some sort of, if you have those parasites guiding your
Right.
actions.
Right, exactly.
Because
So,
that's where people are facing right now with the cognitive dissonance. Even with this movie being so blatantly obvious to so many, there's still people just digging in their heels saying, no, I don't want the truth because I know what that means. It means when you know better, you have to do better. And
Right.
so on a subconscious level, they get that, and they'll fight tooth and nail, or their ego will fight tooth and nail to prevent that from happening.
And folks, what Justin is talking about isn't the sort of the millions of the mindless masses that are, sort of oblivious to everything. He's actually referring to a lot of people who are calling themselves truthers and have, 50, 60, 70, 100,000 subscribers. And they are just living a bald-faced lie at this
right, but
point.
that's where the dark sayings come in, like,
My truth and
yeah,
your truth.
what a wicked web we
Yeah, what a
weave
wicked
when
web we
at
weave.
first we practice to deceive, and then all of those other dark sayings that just teach you. I mean, these are lore, legend, and magic. These are just, they're there for a reason,
Yeah. And there's a reason why the truth is whole. It's holy, and that, again, it's like a frag grenade going off right now because it's the fragments.
Good analogy.
Yeah.
True.
Is there a way to turn that light off?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll go do that.
Oh, thank you.
I think we'll get more of the firelight without it.
So that's what I just wanted to share with everyone with negative 48 is that it's about the information. And so what he has come out at the precise right time. So this is no fluke. It doesn't matter what he says. This is a movie, and deception to a degree is necessary. So and I don't think for a second that he personally is any kind of deceiver, but he has a role to play, a very powerful role. And it was really easy to see and decode that what he's here to do is to calm your mind, which is what a lot of people say has happened to them, because he's making it abundantly clear, which we've been sharing with you for 2 years, which is that this is God's plan. And it is God's plan.
And
so
it's so intricate that there is no way that
Right.
you could actually put all of this together with all of the coding of
So,
God's language.
yeah, so he's done a
brilliant.
far better job with regard to the Q posts or the Q drops than we ever have. And so he's tying all this back into the Q drops, and he's showing you that the Q drops are all referencing specific names, and that all of these names, like Donald Trump or badass president or
JFK Jr.
JFK Jr. or John F. Kennedy, or Make America Great Again, Dark to Light, all of these expressions have all well been thought out, and they are all following these consistent gematria patterns that all lead to the most beautiful names, the most historical names, the most truthful figures in our history. And
It lays out a story.
and it lays out a perfect, gorgeous, divine story of God. And that's what you're seeing. This is the biggest gift that comes from -48. He's making this so powerfully, so obvious if anyone takes the time to listen, that all of this is God's plan. And if it's God's plan, we can trust in the plan, and you can relax, and you can have an almost melancholic feel for the next few weeks here as all of this comes crashing down. And remember, it has to, because what they have built for the last 110 years in particular is the Tower of Babel. And everything they've been trying to do is trying to take heaven by force. And you can't take heaven by force. And at a certain point, God will intervene and Babel will fall. And then what was left in the rubble, all of these people who were in shock over what happened, and they couldn't communicate to one another. This is what 107 talks about. And they were just babbling. That's where this comes from. They were just babbling to one another because they were in shock. And so they couldn't come together. Had they come together in the aftermath of the fall of Babel, we wouldn't be where we are. But no one could communicate with one another. So what's the message? If you know numbers, if you know symbology, then anybody can communicate with anyone else,
You can't babble numbers.
regardless of what idioma you practice. It doesn't matter.
Numbers don't lie.
Numbers don't lie. And what came first, the chicken or the egg? In this case, what came first is the alphabet, because it's the one story. And every single letter is a shape. First and foremost, every single letter is a shape. A is structured the way it is because it came first. It is masculine in origin, and it is stronger. That middle bar across the middle, the third piece to the puzzle, is what makes the A a speeding bullet that cannot be stopped. And that is the symbology of A, which is 1 and the beginning of the story. And 2 is, of course, the breast and the belly of the sacred feminine mother, who is facing east in longing to return back to the Father. And she knows she's playing a role. She knows that they've been sundered on purpose by the fall of man. And that's why she had to give birth to the Son of Man, to give us hope, to give us faith that leads to hope, but then it has to grow into knowing. And then that's why people like Colleen and I and Justin and Eugene and everyone in our family here, why all of us have come together and why we're doing what we're doing, because we are trying to show you the gnosis. The gnosis. We're Gnostics. We're Gnostics because Colleen and I know. We're not guessing at anything. That's why we can be right at all of these things, because we're following this one story. We have the cipher and we're decoding everything through the cipher. And the cipher is the one story, which is the alphabet from A to Z. And that's why the alphabet came first. It's symbols.
Hey, Tom Bombadil came first.
And Tom, mark your words. It wasn't Treebird, it was Tom Bombadil. And so this is a very, very magical, special moment that we're in. And again, blessings to -48 and the Q team for all of this happening in this moment, because it shows how much they care about all of us, because it's giving you the strength and the courage in these fleeting moments of this evil empire to relax and to trust, because you can see clearly that it's God's plan. It's A to Z, 351.
Nothing can stop what is coming.
Nothing
Yeah,
can stop what
and I
is
think
coming.
Just a catchphrase.
Yeah, that's another way of saying geometry, because like again, numbers don't lie, and geometria, and then what we often call geometry, sacred geometry.
That's right.
And then again, it's again the secret. So once you figure out how the numbers are in order, yeah. And then again, another thing I see is that the fragment keeps trying to become whole.
Mhm.
Basically, like for instance, like Smith keeps trying
Yeah.
to become like take heaven by
Yeah.
force, and it can never happen that way. The fragment is not the whole. And again, that's why we're here together, because we're tired of fragments.
Yeah,
Exactly.
beautifully said. beautifully said. And that's all
Which
that
is,
they ever
what
offered.
MK Ultra has done to us, right?
Oh,
It's schismed and
seriously.
fragmented us. We've
The
been,
mind.
Yeah,
we've got all of these horcruxes littered all
Yep.
over the place
Yeah.
of who we are, and we just want to put them all together and become whole with God. That's all we want. We're just searching for that, and I know you all feel the same way.
Oh, yeah.
And there's not anyone who doesn't want that deep down. There are just some who have fooled themselves so distantly, so
Yes.
incredibly, that they think that they don't want that.
And there are those that are so invested in Trump is a clown and that the Q is a hoax and stuff,
And aliens
that they're
exist.
that's right. Space is real and aliens are real and the Anunnaki are,
People have written books about it, and how can they ever go back against what they've written? It would be really hard for them.
that's right. But it's easy if you don't have an ego, and it's almost impossible when the ego rules you, which we're going to get into tonight. And this is the problem with virtually every one of the bigger names within the truth community, is that they're all in, but they're all in with their ego and charging you money and constantly lying to you and creating scam after scam.
Well, doubt and fear is what they're creating, and that's all they need to create. And then we all just miss the mark
Yeah.
completely.
There's a new there's a lot of advertising going on for an upcoming talk between Foster Gamble from the Thrive movement and David Icke, and the title sort of makes it seem like David Icke is totally on side with something big is happening, and what's coming is can't be stopped, and it's going to be great and stuff. And it's like, are you fucking kidding me? David Icke has been missing in action over all of this, and don't any of you allow him to get a free pass on any of this. David, what is it? What are your thoughts on flat Earth, which is so obviously so, and how every ancient community in the Bible absolutely knew? In fact, it's only the last 110 years since Einstein that we believe this nonsensical. David Icke, I don't have a comment on this. I don't see how any of this is relevant. And at the end of the day, what does it matter whether the earth is round or flat? Fucking liar, fucking coward, piece of shit. The flat earth and the firmament and the disavow of outer space and aliens disavows his work and the books that he's written about the moon is a spacecraft and was dragged here halfway across the galaxy, and it's got an alien race of lizard people in it who just happen to share similar DNA to the royal families, and that's why they shapeshift into the royal families and blah, 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 blah. Sorry, folks, I just wanted to say I got it wrong, and that's totally okay. But I just want you to know I'm on board with what's happening, and clearly, as much as none of us want to believe it, but Donald Trump is actually chosen to do this role, and that he's playing a powerful. No, you don't hear that. You don't hear that.
That's the return of the prodigal son, and we are welcome. We are welcoming all for that. That's a beautiful thing.
That's
but
right.
but that doesn't mean that you won't have to pay the price for what you've done. Atonement.
Yeah.
It's for everyone. It's some would want to call it karma. It's just we have to pay for the price that the behaviors and the things that we've done. So
Yeah.
you can't escape that.
Right.
But
So,
welcome back if
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what you want to do.
Right.
Come to the right side, and we're
Yeah.
happy to have you.
Right.
So Colleen got a message, and it was from someone in the community, and they were really, really concerned because the lady who did the Fall of the Cabal series, which I think was 18 parts or something like that, and her name is Janet Ossegaard, and she did a good job with the series, but just the thing for Colleen and I again is that we have the cipher. So when we listen to anyone, we're always listening holistically, and we're just listening for everything to fit the bill. And she was just off the mark on so many things. And again, it's just ultimately it just comes down to laziness, because because you're just accepting certain things. So for Janet Ossegaard from the beginning, the earth is of course round and spinning and twirling and tilting and wobbling and, you know, being dragged across the galaxy at breakneck speeds, and all the rest of it. And gravity's real and evolution is real. And Hitler is completely evil, and that Hitler is a Rothschild, and that the Rothschilds and the cabal financed Hitler in World War II, and they were playing, you know, both sides of the fence, and you just go on and on through these things. It's the same thing with that gentleman in Britain who did everything, you know, everything is a rich man's trick, which was a very good documentary, and I think helped a lot of people to begin to sort of awaken them. But again, these folks are wrong on so many key points, and they're very important. And by the way, they're all the same points. Once again, it's always accepting that there's outer space, always accepting the aliens, always accepting the reptilians, always accepting the Anunnaki, and the fact that they are geneticists and they have essentially created us. So what they're essentially saying, and and again, just we're at the end, so it needs to be said, but you're just listening to satanic propaganda, whether they mean it or not, it doesn't matter. But there's no God in any of this equation. There's no God in any of this. If any of you think that God created space the way that we've been told, then he is the most elitist scumbag that ever was. Because all that will ever happen in space is that the rich few, the powerful few, will only ever be able to be able to go out into those vast distances. You can't have vast distances, and you can't have the necessity for $1 trillion machines and for power sources that can propel us at enormous rates. None of this can be real, or this is all about domination by a small group, and that God is an elitist and he's on the side of this small group. Space has to be within you. Space has to be open 24/7, 365. You have to be the commander of your own galaxy class star cruiser, or none of any of this makes sense. Remember, everyone, at the end of the day, all we're teaching you is common sense. You're not thinking when it comes to space. And remember what I've shared with you all along. When's the first time that we ever really heard anything about aliens and outer space to any great degree, like it was more than just a Hollywood movie, that it could somehow be real? And that's Roswell in 47. And then what started to occur? See, now put your thinking cap on, and just now let's use reason and logic, and let's apply a little here. 47, the end of World War II. What was Adolf Hitler using? He was using Tesla technology. He was trying to create the German bell to be able to repel all weapons against Germany, which is a magnetic device. And what they found after the war is that the Germans had been experimenting with maglev, so that they had these saucers, these round shaped structures that could levitate in the air. Now, all of this is what happens in war. The spoils go to whom? The people who write history books. The people who write your history books, who are the victors, they're the ones. So then all of a sudden in 47, took 2 years for them to get ready. And then they take one of them that was probably shot down in Germany, and that becomes the alien craft in Roswell. And boom, there it goes. By 1951, people were starting to hear about this Area 51, and that was a secret underground military base, and that it was entirely dedicated
what is
to.
It really?
That's right.
Center of communism.
That's right.
Well,
and
child
trafficking.
Yeah.
Child trafficking.
Same thing.
And
Yeah.
that's what people were saying within the Q team, is that the Greys in Area 51 were children, because their features don't form when you're born underground and you never see the light of day. And that folks has to be just one of the worst crimes ever that has ever existed, to deny the wind, to deny the sun, to deny the deep, rich air of this godly creation, and to deny the view of a mountaintop or the waves upon the ocean. This is, or a creek or a river running down a mountain. This is evil. These are evil, evil, evil people, to deny these simple pleasures created by God.
And ultimately, they're trying to deny going within. Like ultimately, it's a plan to say it's all external. The truth is outside. Aliens outside are going to come save you. Never go inside, because there's no mystery there. And I think that's a big part of it too.
Exactly right. Again, it's found so many places in the Bible, but again, Luke 11:52. Woe to you, lawyers, Pharisees, and scribes of the church, for you do not go within yourself to seek for the kingdom of God. And worse than that, you deny and discourage those that are doing the work to go within themselves and find God, and prevent them from continuing this sacred work. Woe to you. And again, like, Justin and I, when we were doing the decoding of the Bible, and we're going to talk about Revelation in chapter 5 tonight, and we're decoding Matthew and Revelation. That's why I took the time to say to you, what is Jesus saying? Woe to you. These are not empty words. It means your time has come. It's coming, and it has come. And this is the moment. This is it. The time is here. The time is now. And payback is a bitch. And it's interesting, because the last movie that we left for ourselves with Mel Gibson for, I guess, tomorrow night is Payback. And that's a great movie, as well, as we've gone back through all of them. But payback is a bitch for these people that deny that the simple, plain truth. And it's wonderful, because I guess Negative 48 and others have been consistently referring people to our takedown of organized religion from A to Z video. And the numbers have just been skyrocketing on it again, as people are basically seeing it, and for some of them, our work for the very first time, and waking up to the fact that the Jesus that they've been taught in the Bible is not consistent with the Jesus who is accredited to have said and done all of these things in the Bible. And again, this is sick. These are sick, sick people. So getting back to the comment that was made to Colleen, and the comment was that Janet Ossegaard began to sort of second guess maybe herself, the Q team, and this existence of NESARA. And she also mentioned Saint Germain, and I think that this Saint Germain and Saint Germain Trust is fake. And so, and that the person was just saying is that I worry for you and Charlie, because a lot of people think that that her work is just based entirely off of your guys' work. And so if she's saying these things that she's disavowing you or whatever, and it's like, well, first off, you don't need to worry about us or anything, and it's all going to work itself out. It's fine. And no, there's no connection between us and Janet Ossegaard. And with regard to this NESARA and Saint Germain all along, again, to the vast dislike of millions within the truth community, Colleen and I, doing podcasts saying that, nope, sorry, the earth is protected by a firmament. It's level. It's never moved. There's no such thing as aliens. There are no Anunnaki. There's God. Relax. Do the work. Jesus told you the way. Now you have to become Christ-like and do the work and go on this journey to connect to God. And nobody likes to hear that. And then we're the ones that said Saint Germain and the patron saint of finance. What? And Saint Germain, I'm sorry, but when you do your research on Saint Germain and find the actual accentuation of this patron Saint Germain, you see that it is the same sources that are the cabal. It's the same sources that are the United Nations. And then you start looking around and look at people who were touting NESARA, and through the fact that this is all happening through the Saint Germain Trust, and everything was Saint Germain. And then that's Sasha Stone, and that's Robert David Steele, and that's who's the guy who's raped by aliens and has Simon, and he drew a Crayola picture of his 3-year-old alien son, and he has 3 million subscribers or something. Okay, so in Simon Park. And so they're all in with Saint Germain and NESARA. And all along, Colleen and I have been saying to you, well, there is a NESARA, and so that's a possibility. But really, we should be referring to this as the Q posts have been saying, which is the quantum financial system. And the quantum is going to take economics and finance to a whole new level. That's the quantum leap. When they use quantum, they're just talking about quantum leap, which probably they're responsible for Quantum Leap, that TV series.
Which I'm
as well.
hoping in the future just takes us right over top of all of this currency, right? And we get into photon,
and it,
love.
That's right.
And it's
and
just,
it will. It will.
We
it
look
has
back
to.
and we say, as a beautiful community, and we say, money. Do you remember when they used to use money? Do they still use that in some parts?
La Belle Verte.
Yeah,
La Belle
it's just
Verte. Who wants to go to Earth? Who wants to go to Christos? Sorry, only 14 can go. Oh, okay. Who wants to go to Earth? We have to send somebody to Earth. We haven't been there in 200 years. Well, do you think they still use money? What's money? Yeah, they still use money. Yeah. And you have to buy everything, including food. Yeah, everything. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. So listen, whatever Janet Ossegaard is saying or whatever, just, take it with a grain of salt, because this is somebody who did a really good job with the Fall of the Cabal series. But just remember, was diametrically opposed to the truth in many crucial areas.
But it's a stepping stone, and it's wonderful.
That's right. So and it was good. But just take a deep breath. So remember the video that Colleen and I did. It's the best one that has been done on NESARA. And what did I tell you all along? How do you know that all of this is real, that it's going to happen? And we gave you thousands of examples of people who had their debts wiped out as they began to test the system. And thousands of people were messaging us in saying that house and car loan and credit card all gone, or just house mortgage gone and stuff. And that was during that phase last summer of 2020, when they began to test the system, and people were beginning to say that some of their loans had been completely zeroed out. So what is the basis to NESARA? What is the basis to this economic reform that's coming, that guarantee is going to set you free financially? So even if this ridiculous system continues and there's jobs and things cost money and stuff, and they probably will for a while, but even if it does, okay, here's what we shared with you. 1, usury is completely illegal, and the fake Jews have been chased out of every country in the world through antiquity, because everywhere they went, they've tried to set up usury. Why? Because it's purely satanic, and it's how you control people's souls.
And Canaanites cannot create, so they have to parasite off of others. That's what usury is.
And that is precisely what usury is. And fundamentally, structurally, theoretically, it's impossible, because you can't charge interest on principal. The moment that you charge interest on principal, you've bankrupted the system, because all that is the principal. Principal is your wealth. You can't charge interest on principal. If you do, the system is bankrupt, and then you're just playing the game Monopoly. And at the end of the day, one person wins, which is the bank, and the people who are the shadowy government behind the bank.
But we're doing this for the public good and for globalism and all these great purposes of
And it's not a-
unification.
It's not a perfect system, but
Yeah.
it's the best we have,
Exactly.
right?
Kill the individual,
Yeah.
just completely put him on his
It-
knees.
it's like that senator in the Mel Gibson movie last night, Edge of Darkness. He kept saying every time that he was being questioned about these events that were going on and questions about this company. He said research and development, in particular with regard to weaponry, is a massive part of Massachusetts' economy. So we must go through this very carefully. we must do our research very carefully here, as we begin to research what's going on and who's at fault. Code for shut up, nothing's going to change, and you just be thankful that you've got a stupid job to go to. That's what it's all code for. So the basis to usury is vampirism. It's just like Colleen said, that's what it is, and it's impossible. So you can't charge interest on principal. So what's the first thing that's going to happen moving forward? All of your loans are going to be canceled out. Why? They're impossible. It's not that they're morally bankrupt, which they are. I'm just talking at their level, legality and illegality. We're not even at God's level of truth, which is law, God's laws, which is it's impossible. But their system of legality and illegality, it's illegal because it's impossible, because it is simply theoretically not possible. So you're talking about something that theoretically doesn't even rub two coins together. So the first thing that's going to go is that all of your loans will be canceled out. Every one of your loans will be canceled out because debt is impossible. Now, when you start to get to the higher level, which is God, then what do we know? What do we know in the Bible about debt and debtors?
It's the left brain.
It's the left brain, and you can't go there. You can't become a debtor because you are, as Jesus taught, a creditor. You are the golden child. You have all the treasures, which is gnosis, wisdom, inside of you, gifted to you because God is inside of you. First Kings chapter 6, verse 7, that this temple, which is constructed in silence, is where God exists. And that's the only temples in the known universe that exist that are not man-made, as the Bible says, not made by the hands of man, are your two temples. These are the only two temples not made by the hands of man. God exists there. And what does it say? This is the Bible in stillness and in silence. That's 1 Kings 6:7. And this is your reality. So there cannot be usury. There cannot be loans. All of the loans are going to disappear. Guaranteed. Take it to the bank. No, don't ever go to a bank. And what's the first thing you do at a bank? You make a deposit. What is D? What is the DE word?
Take away.
To take away. So they created in plain sight a system that steals your money. So you go to the bank to deposit to keep it safe and sound, and they're going, yeah, we'll call it a deposit, and we're going to turn you into a debtor. And that's what they've done. And then, like we taught you, how does this fractional reserve banking system work? The money comes out of thin air, because when you deposit your money, 10% of that money is supposed to remain in the vault so that the vault can remain sound. Wow, I don't know which theory you use to make that bullshit up, but whatever. The other 90% can be recreated 9 times. So if you deposit $1,000 to one of the banks, this is how it's worked in every single country on earth,
9,000.
virtually over the last 110 years. That 100 stays in the vaults, and 900 gets to be loaned out 9 times. If you deposit 1,000, they get to reinvent the 900 that they're stealing from you, deposit to take away, and they loan it out to your brain dead friends 9 more times. So from $1,000 deposit, they have turned it into 8,100 mythical dollars. This is what's known as fractional reserve banking. Now, to any of you, does that sound legal?
No, it sounds like slavery.
It sounds like a lie in slavery, and lies in slavery can't exist because we're the sovereign children of God, the creator. So banks are gone. Guaranteed, guaranteed, not one of them will be left standing, as Jesus said when he chased the moneylenders out of the temple. Not one will be left standing. So all your debts are gone because banks are corrupt and impossible and can't exist. Banks are gone. Your loans are gone. And this fractional reserve banking system of where fake money comes into existence is gone. Now, when you borrow money from a bank in this system, where does the money for your loan come from? In other words, when you go into a credit union in your town and you go to them and you take out a loan for $200,000 to purchase your home, where does that $200,000 come from?
Your birth certificate.
No, that's right. No one in their system can accurately explain this to you, because these banks, credit unions, they don't have any money. They don't have any capital. Do you know what it takes to start a bank in this world? Is a permission slip from the cabal. That's all it takes. You don't need any money. You need a place to call home to hang your cropped hat, but that's it. You supply the money, and their fake math creates a fortune for them out of thin air. So Eugene just called it out in plain sight. So where does the money, where has it come from for your loans in this fractional reserve banking system? It comes from your birthing certificate. Now, you're not a ship. You can't be birthed when you're born. You're born, not birthed. Stop calling your born day a birthday. You're not a ship. You're mankind or womankind. You're not a ship. You did not get birthed by a docking agent called a doctor, and ore is gold. So they're docking you because you're the gold. You're the gold. Yeah. And your birthing certificate, let me just make this so quick, clear, simple, and easy. It turns you from a living, three-dimensional master creation of God into a two-dimensional, all capitalized, three-word or three-name corpse oration. And this is where the term dead man walking comes from. It's why Hollywood and TV get a kick from making all of these zombie movies, because that's what we are. When we consent, your parents are not allowed to take you out of the hospital unless you first sign these government forms. And they tell you it's just, it's procedure. And it's for your birthing certificate. And also will eventually get you a social security number, which is a slave number. They might as well just tattoo that on your arm, because this is the real Holocaust and they're the real Nazis. They have all along been the real Nazis. And that's what this system is. This system is complete fakery. So at birth, you are turned into a vessel at sea, and then you can be owned, and you agree to this, and you don't know any better, but your parents do, and your parents signed for you to be discharged as a ship, as a vessel from the docking port, which is the hospital. And then you go through your life as this all capitalized birthing certificate. Now, what does this mean? It means you can be owned. And all of us have been owned by secret people behind the scenes. And they are able, with any asset, to be able to sell it, to buy it, and to bet. Well, and after a certain point, they were allowed to be, and this is what caused the financial crash. So this was the Clinton presidency that repealed the Glass-Steagall Act, and the Glass-Steagall laws that were created by Joseph Kennedy, by the way, to prevent another Great Depression from ever happening. FDR went to him, and that's when Joe Kennedy said, I'll do this for you, but I want to become the ambassador for the United States to Great Britain. I want to live at St. James Court in London. That's the deal that was made. And what did Joe Kennedy's Glass-Steagall Act and laws do? It stopped these bloody evil bastards from creating another massive depression until Bill Clinton came along. And in the final days of Clinton's 8-year presidency, when no one was looking, what did he do? He repealed the Glass-Steagall laws, turning everything into a shit show, which basically meant that everything, Wall Street just became Atlantic City, and everything was a roulette wheel. Everything was a craps table. Everything was 21. Everything was blackjack. And they started to bet against you and I. And the good news to all of this is that from about 1999 onwards, our birthing certificate accounts went from the hundreds of thousands and the low millions into the tens and potentially hundreds of millions. We don't know. We don't know. Q Team knows because all of these financial records were kept in Venice. And when Venice was taken down, they inherited all of these bullshit financial debts and financial credits and debits against or for all of us. They're all kept in Venice. This is where everything was kept. This is why people like 3 Days and 3 Nights and others were basically saying, can any of you guess where every single banking paper in history in any country, where it's all stored under one roof in this world? A lot of people guessed Rome, which is a good guess, but it's the ship docked off sea just outside of Rome, which is Venice. And that's where it is. So that's this sick, illegal system that has existed. It can't exist.
Yeah, that's the law of the high seas or the maritime admiralty waters, and that's what creates you to be a ward of the state or
That's
lost
right.
at sea, because it means you're dead in their legal system. And
When
then-
that's right. When you go to court, you have to have a lawyer. Why? Have you ever asked that?
Yeah.
And in certain smaller courts, like small claims court, you can represent yourself because it's small potatoes. It's less than 10,000. So it's chump change and you're the chump, and they'll let the chump defend themselves if they want to. But past a certain level, like small claims court, then you have to have a lawyer. Do you know why? Because you are a birthing certificate, not a real person. Because under the Maritime Admiralty law system, you are not competent because you're not here. You're there, adrift at sea. And this is how it works. So what it means is that you have to be represented by a state ward. Do all of you know this? Do you know that every single lawyer, including defense lawyers,
Yes. And they bow to the judge. They work for the bar. They're called attorneys for a reason, because they're turning you over to the law. So
That's right.
yeah, their allegiance is elsewhere, not to God.
So when you hire a lawyer, that lawyer works for the court system, which is this Maritime Admiralty law system. And if they attempt to abuse this, then they're going to be taken down by the Jesuits, who are the mafia, the real mafia of this world. They're the muscle for Venice. And that's your Roman Catholic Church. So this is how it works. So none of this can exist. So now let's fast forward to 2020 and July of 2020, and Trump has golden hair and golden skin, and he's in Ohio, which is the 17th state to enter into the union, which is Q. And he's at the Whirlpool factory, and there are 17 Whirlpool boxes on stage behind Trump, Q. And all of these Whirlpool boxes were all painted gold. So he has gold skin, gold hair, gold Whirlpool boxes in the 17th state with 17 Whirlpool boxes behind him. And he said, I'm going to have to go away for a few days, but don't worry. When I come back, everything's going to be golden.
Oh, honey.
That was the final takedown of this Maritime Admiralty law system and this adrift at sea banking system that has owned you because of your birthing certificate. And it was that summer that they began to test and roll out the quantum financial system. And that's why some of the lucky ones were the ones that had certain debts completely wiped from existence. And this is why at that time that Colleen and I, and we were inspired to do so through QAnon Galt, who actually contacted us today. And we'll see where that's going to take us, but at the moment it looks like a Zoom call. So that would be really wonderful. But it was QAnon Galt that reminded us that when Venice was taken down, it meant that all true original copies of all of these fake loans that you're tied to the hip with were all seized, which means that even the smallest credit union in Seattle, Washington, or Tacoma, Washington, or wherever, their true original copies of your loans are gone. And if they can't produce the true original copy to your loan within 30 days of officially receiving your official letter sent to them requesting you to be able to see the true, not a copy, the true original of your loan agreement, that loan within 30 days has to be null and void. And then when they issue the null and void to you, you then issue it to 3, if there are 3, but that's the standard practice, 3 of these local credit capture agencies. And these are just scumbags. These are just, vultures. Yeah, vultures. And what they do is they buy bad debt from banks and then they collect it. And by the way, when you have one of these collection agencies show up to your house or show up to your business or wherever, and they've got a court order saying that you have to owe this money and they're not leaving until you pay this money, it's all fucking fake. It's nothing legal about anything that they're saying to you. It doesn't matter that they have a court. Exactly. They are not the originators of this loan. They do not have the true. That's right. They're thugs threatening you, and that's everybody falls in line and pays them because you think that this is all above board and you know that you defaulted on this or that and that, okay, well, they got me, and that, so you end up, going to your grandmother or your aunt and they have to sell their dining table, at a sale tomorrow. And the whole time, the credit recovery agency is there to make sure that it's just sick. It's sick. They don't have the true original copy. They're not the originators of the loan. They can buy this bad debt all they want. Doesn't make it legal. It's not legal. None of this system is legal. So Trump on the stage in Ohio, summer of 2017, and what did he say? He said, you know what the problem of this world is? He said that there's a group of middlemen. And he said, I don't know what, and nobody seems to know who they are or where they are. But he said, there's this group of middlemen. And he goes, I don't think they're that many either. And he said, not happy with me. And I'm not happy with it because he said, do you know what? He said, they're driving the prices of everything up by about 90%. 90%. Can you imagine that? And he said, this is not right. And I promised you that we're going to, get rid of these vultures that are taking advantage of us. So we're going to start with the pharmaceutical industry, which, by the way, in the entire world, it all starts in America because it was all born on Wall Street. So these are all American corporations. They may make the stuff in Pakistan or in Thailand, but they're all American corporations because their addresses for all their headquarters are, centered around Wall Street. So he said, since their headquarters is the United States, then it is the closest thing in the world for them to deliver their product to Americans. So we should get the biggest discount. And I'm asking them for a 90% discount. And he said, the thing is, if we could get rid of this middleman, he said, prices will drop by 90%. And I'm going to see to that happens with regard to pharmaceuticals in the industry. Promises made, promises kept. And then within weeks of Trump saying that, what happened? What massively happened with regard to all these medications, and in particular, that EpiPen. The EpiPen from almost $500 became $495. So
I wonder what the price is now.
What the quantum what the quantum financial system is and what the quantum financial system is about is to take away the illegality and the unlawfulness of what has existed. Okay, don't worry about Saint Germain on his wings and little bells on his slippers, his golden slippers, and all that bullshit. All you've ever needed is to get rid of taxation. All you've ever needed is to get rid of property taxes. All you ever needed is to get rid of usury. All you've ever needed is to get rid of these sharks that are driving up the price of products artificially 90%. Why do you think houses cost what they cost and cars cost what they cost? It's all carefully calculated. It's just enough that you can afford. And it's so much, you'll never be able to stop working. And you'll just work and work and work forever to do nothing but pay the interest on these loans. It's bullshit. And it's all ending. And don't care what Janet Ossegaard said or anybody else says. You can trust us.
No.
All of this is false. All of it has been taken down. You are going to awake to a reality where prices will be fair. Can you imagine if a house didn't cost $200,000, but it cost $20,000?
Right.
You could pay it off in a year just on what you were paying on income tax in a year.
And no such thing as property tax.
There's no such thing as interest because it doesn't exist. There's no banking system. That's why this quantum financial system is on 24/7, 365, and you have total access to it. And you're not going to be talking to humans that are working for 11 cents an hour in Pakistan, who barely, understand English, and they're speaking to you on the phone about, for you, the most important thing in the world. And you can't understand them because that's how the
Actually,
system-
talking to a human is beautiful. The problem is, can you ever get to that human being? Because all the system is just automation to take you through this.
Clutter.
Exactly.
And-
And just beta wave you till that you want to just cut the phone cord at 5 before you even get to that human.
That's right. But the quantum financial system is going to work for you. So there's no cost to it and it'll work for you. All you have to do with this system is contact it, tell it what you want, and it's done. That's it. No waiting online, no hanging around, no waiting for this person or that person. You tell it what you want because you are in charge. Now, all of your birthing certificate accounts have been captured. All of those accounts are worth an enormous amount of money. Now, they may just cancel all of it because all of this fake monetary system and monopoly money has to go. If they do, and we don't get access to the millions of dollars that are in our name, don't worry. The cabal has done everything from us. They're left brain Canaanites. They've never invented anything. We've invented it all. They've stolen all of the technology to have everything that they have from us. So here's the kicker. Everything that they have, everything that Trump has secured back in the name of the people is ours.
So we, the people.
So we, the people of this quantum document known as the Constitution of the United States of America, that was leaps and quantum years and leaps and bounds ahead of anything else that ever existed before, is saying to us that we are going to be common, equal shareholders of the wealth of this world, both within and without. You've got nothing to worry about. Stop worrying. There's nothing to worry about at all. This is God's plan. -48 has shown that. Now watch the miracle that occurs. Remember, this system is completely corrupt. The entire monetary system does not need to exist. There is no need for anyone to have a job or make money. You don't need to when God has provided everything for us in abundance. You can't have borders. That's why Trump has to be the peace president, because moving forward, there has to be peace amongst nations because there can't be borders. Borders don't exist, as you all know. If you've ever gotten in an airplane and flown over, from the United States to Europe or into Canada or to Mexico, when you cross the border.
You mean God created borders?
Yeah.
He did not. So man created fences and walls.
Which, we might want to touch on why Trump was so strong about building the wall and being strong about borders if they are going to go away.
Right.
But we have to remember that there has to be a pragmatic stepping stone approach to it. And in order to reinforce individual sovereignty,
That's right.
we have to reinforce nation sovereignty.
That's right.
And we have to go in this particular order to kind of unwind this entire false system. But eventually we will get away from the need for borders whatsoever. We just have to do away with those who like to traffic people and
MS-13.
yeah,
Yeah.
those kind of things, which hopefully we can address the last remaining remnants of those quickly. But that's all a choice for us. You know, how deeply are we going to do the work to truly put our ego in its place, to put our left brain in its place so that it doesn't start to take control and do these kinds of things again. So I just wanted to clarify on that.
No, it's
So-
brilliant.
Brilliant, Justin. And it's 100% true. Brilliant. It has to happen in that order. Justin, go ahead.
You mean
Did you-
I mean, Eugene.
So
Eugene.
what I'm getting from you is that soon we're going to be living like the Germans under Adolf Hitler.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hopefully that and better and more.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
Well, no one gave Hitler, like I said, from 33 to 39 is 6 short years, and in 6 short years is nothing short of the most incredible
in the
miracle.
environment that he was having to work within
That's
as
right.
well.
The
Exactly.
whole world against them.
Against him.
That's right.
That
But, yeah.
beautiful, beautiful soul.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Mhm.
Wow. And he reminds me so much of Trump.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely. Reminds me so
That
much of
energy.
Patton.
Yeah.
Yes.
Reminds me so much of George Patton.
Any soul that goes out there against the grain and fights this evil, Lincoln, all of these beautiful souls that
No
have
room for
tried.
compromise.
JFK.
No room for compromise
The whole
with
family of
God
the
and the truth.
Kennedys, yeah. And just setting it out there and just opening up our eyes to this whole evil that's laying its groundwork all around us. Wow.
So well spoken, by everybody. So this is what we just wanted to sort of open everything with, is to let you know, no matter who's saying what, relax, absolutely relax. Because again, the very first thing that will happen is all your debts will be taken away, because usury is impossible. It's impossible, it's illegal, it's unlawful. So it's done with, it's gone. So get over it. And everything else that's going to happen is, and no taxes. The only tax that can exist is a point of sale tax on non-essential goods, because you always have to have the choice not to pay. So if it's a non-essential item, it means that you can have someone make it for you, or you can learn to make it yourself. You always have a choice. This is a system that puts the individual first. So this is Ayn Rand. So this is Adolf Hitler. So this is the way of Abraham Lincoln, and this is the way of John Kennedy and Donald Trump. So what they all had in common is this divine individual. We must protect their rights, because society doesn't exist for the divine individual to serve it. It exists to serve the divine individual, because you're here for one thing and one thing only, and that is to know God. And how does that work if you have to have a job? It doesn't. Why do you think God made everything in abundance? Like, it's laughable how much abundance there is on this earth. No one should be starving. There is abundance for everyone.
Do you know
Right.
how hard they had to work in order to make us believe
Yes,
that we were overpopulated?
yes.
Oh.
And that there was no real,
Yeah.
space for enough
Yeah.
people to go out and create.
Yeah, not enough
Enough
food,
food.
not enough water, not enough food, not enough water.
But we're all in cities.
Yeah,
And don't take a road trip and drive anywhere, because you'll see all the empty space, all the empty land,
All the farmland.
all
Well,
the fertile
yeah.
area.
why do you think airplanes are structured the way they're structured? And why are those windows so crappy? It's on purpose, so that you can see very little, very, very little.
And they're nice and,
Fish
Fish eye to
Yeah,
make
so
that
you can't see the
curvature.
flatness.
Because and like I said, for those of you that are still kind of trying to deny this, just go on the YouTube and just search pilots confirming flat earth, and you'll see thousands of pilots, people just walking up the aisle as they're departing the plane and just shouting in, hey guys, everything's flat. Hey, it's all flat. Yeah, it's flat. Yeah, it's totally flat. So it has to be.
So after the diseases, the dis-ease is gone and there's ease, people can start to look within themselves and focus on, like you were saying, the only work, which is the Christ work. And Colossians 1 verse 26 to 27 comes to mind with, which is like the secret of secrets, that which is Christ in you. And that they don't want you to know that. That's why they want you to work like a slave. You need to depopulate you. You need to take out your reproductive systems. Like you're just worthless. Like why? All to tell you that you're not Christ, but you are. So
Yeah.
There was Asher in the chat a ways back was saying they worked at a bank and what's going to happen to their job and all this other sort of thing. So that's what we're discussing right now. Like there's not going to be any sort of time where you're in lack. We've been so conditioned to be in this lack mindset where there's not going to be enough. How am I going to survive? That's going to go away first and foremost. And then I can't imagine that you love your job that much that you'll want to do it if you didn't have to. So then it opens up the possibility of you doing whatever you want. There'll be plenty of work to do to improve our communities, to improve the world around us, and to, to grow and learn.
To share our talents.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be a job. It doesn't have to be, you're not hired by somebody. When we are employed by someone, we are saying, I'm okay with slavery. You just have to pay my wages for it just has this kind of like soft edge to it. So it's not quite as direct where I'm, but because the whole system's created around this surviving and I have to have money to survive, I got to go get a job. I got to be employed.
I got to be busy.
Yeah, right. And so we'll get away from all of that. So don't worry about these transitions and how it's going to happen. If you truly love whatever you do at the bank, I'm sure there'll be some way you can organize numbers and document things and do that in some beneficial way to something. But it doesn't have to be in this sort of like, I have to do this to provide for my family. There won't be this need for it. So it's just going to take away all of this burden so that we can truly focus on what's really important, which is this hero's journey. It is this path that we are to follow.
So one of the hardest things I think people will find is taking no thought for your life is going to be, because we've been programmed
To think and think and judge and judge and judge.
Absolutely. And the taking no thought for your life, which is having trust and faith in God, is one of the harder things when we're not fully awakened yet and we haven't activated, the beautiful vessel that we have here.
Yes.
But when we do, or even before, in the process, we're going to be able to see that step by step, giving up that control and giving up that false identity that we've clung to for so long in an ego fearful mode. Like it's so painful to live that way, in ego. It's just like, it's so tiring.
Yeah.
And you're always afraid. And it's like that fear is just so unattractive. I hate it in myself, right? It's like, I just want to throw up when I start feeling anxious. And yeah, so it's like, get rid of it.
Yeah, it's a weight, hence
Get rid of
Atlas shrugged.
Right?
And I love the fact that you said lack, because once you start not living in lack, there is no slacking. You gotta focus on what you're doing. You don't have any excuses to hold you down. So.
Yeah, so you got to take responsibility, which is a big aspect to it, but it's going to be completely different than this
Right.
Yes,
churning, just
hamster wheel.
Yeah, it's a hamster wheel. It's just going around. Literally just going round and around and around.
Samsara, I love Samsara.
Yeah.
Please give me meat. I want
So we
some.
get off that and we actually get to go
Jeez.
down the path. We get to travel a distance and go down that straight and narrow path. And
It's gonna feel weird at first, but
Yeah.
it's gonna be so amazing.
Incredible.
Just embrace the whole situation, because it's gonna feel weird at first and uncomfortable. But we have to push past that. And that's the courage and that's the armor of God that we put on every day to help us through that. And read the Bible, read all of
Oh
the
my
scriptures that
gosh.
you need to pull you through, and hang out with people who are inspirational, not people who are, lost and because they'll just fear is contagious and it'll drag you down.
Dampen your light.
It will.
And folks, boy, I just love listening to everything that all of you are saying. It's so perfect and so true. And just remember, all of the scriptures are perfect in their own way. They're all divine. They truly are. Now, our tradition, being, Canada or Europe or the United States, is through Christianity. Now, we've shared with you that Christianity is the one monotheistic religion, and that all other truth, it's not a religion, it's a truth, and all other truths or religions are just teaching their variation of Christianity. So just remember, Roman Catholicism came at the end of the line, and it is the most perverted and is the furthest thing away from Christianity, but they're all telling the same story. But let me say this: read the Bible for yourself. If you did nothing else but just dedicate yourself to knowing Jesus Christ, and I mean focused on this one man, and you're going to learn, you're going to find out that it was a couple, that it was the Lord and Lady Christ, that it was Joshua, Jeheshua, and Mary Magdalene, that are this Christed couple.
Twin flame.
C and C. Wow. Christed couple.
Huh.
And you're going to find that if you just follow the simple, beautiful teachings of Jesus Christ, you will lack for nothing. You will make it to the pearly gates. You will get there. You will find God in heaven. You will absolutely do it, because he showed you the way perfectly. There are other ways, there are other books, there are other people, and they're beautiful, and they will do the same thing for you. But in my experience, for everything that I've read, and I've read most of the Buddhist sutras, I've read the Bhagavad Gita, and I love the Bhagavad Gita. I've read the Quran. Obviously I know the Bible. I've looked into all of the ancient cultures and all of the sort of systems of spirituality that they had. There is nothing cleaner, pure, and just more emotionally sustainable than Jesus Christ and Christianity. It is just the most beautiful thing. And the truth of the matter is that this becoming the Christed individual is what the night sky teaches. It's the purest of the one stories. That's why true Christianity and Zoroastrianism are so alike. It's scary, because it's just decoding the night sky. It's just taking the story of Christ. So don't let anyone ever tell you that now things are going so far the other direction. There are people that are saying that no, Jesus Christ is completely fake, and this has all just been faked, and it's the Jesuits. And no, the night sky is all about the one story. And remember, that's all of us. Jesus came first. He showed us the way, and all we have to do is show me the way, follow the way. Once you know better, then you do better. And
just one sec now
go ahead.
before. Don't feel bad if you don't know all of the other scriptures and teachings and things like that. And in the future, that's the beauty of not having to go to a system job, an institutionalized job. You're going to have time to research, and it's going to be so important to do this because we need to have gnosis, right? So we need to do the work ourselves by doing the research and discovering all of this for ourselves. All of God's truth has to come to us individually. We have to seek it, absolutely. And the other thing is, many people are saying, I want to shelter my children from all of this. And I don't agree with that, because our children are the future, and they need to know, maybe not a 1-year-old or a 2-year-old or whatever. I mean, you have to share this information with them at their level, but as they grow, they need to know this information, and they need to know what was happening, because we need to make sure that this never happens again. And those of us who think that feathering the nest of our children, it's just decadent, and it's just going to lead them down an egotistical path of service to self.
It's lies.
And it's lies.
It's
and
lies.
It's like never telling them the truth.
Yeah.
It's no different than the government not telling us that, it's just treating us like feathering our nests or whatever they want to pretend they were doing in the beginning. It's wrong. God's truth needs to be shared, and our children at some level need to know these things. They absolutely do.
100%.
So not fear mongering, but just the clear truth. And that will be disseminated to us as the next few weeks and the next few months and the next few years roll out. So we just need to breathe. We need to trust and have faith, and all of this will happen, but the time will also be perfect for us to do this research, and the information will be there. Like we were discussing before, 888 books in the Bible. Hello. There's a lot of wisdom and truth out there that we haven't heard. How incredible is that going to be to just be able to absorb that gnosis?
That's probably just the New Testament alone,
Right?
because everyone has been inspired by the Lord and Lady Christ, and so many have written about this in the most passionate of ways. So there's so much that's coming. It's so much that's coming. It's truly, truly
And there'll
incredible.
be new movies, The Passions of the Christs.
Well, and what we'll get away from is as a movie like The Passion of the Christ, and we'll get to the teaching of the Christ, which
The
is
raising
what
of the
we
beautiful
require.
energy to God as opposed to the annihilation of God.
Which is why they actually created jobs and, eventually took the woman away from the house,
Yep.
was so that they could program the kid and so that they could
Yep.
just wipe out generations that way. So
Yep.
you're right on.
And
Colleen.
you have to get them into cities, right?
Exactly.
This is where this construct
Yes.
of cities came from, because suddenly everything costs money. In the countryside, you can provide for yourself. Can't have that. Can't have that.
Get away from the busyness, get away from the children being so busy that they can't absorb God's truth. It's wrong. They just have to scale down all of those busynesses for the children.
Stillness
They
and
were just taking them down a path to train you to take away all of your senses so that you could just be a zombie and go to work and Friday night you get together with your friends and talk nonsense and have drinks, and they were just teaching you to do that. We need depth again. We need to get down to that whole connection to God and share that. This is it for me.
Yep.
This is wonderful.
Yeah,
And
it
one
is.
of one of the easiest ways is to connect with the mother. So go spend that time outside, go camping with your kids, like just
Wow.
shove them outside and say, I don't care. I don't want to see you until the sun sets, but no devices, just go be outside, go learn. And this is how
Here's
we
a stick,
truly,
here's a rope, here's a ball.
Here's a dog. Go.
Yeah, exactly.
dog.
Here's a
Go.
dog.
yeah, this is how
Don't
we
hurt the dog.
this is how we rebalance. This is how we ground ourselves, literally, like touching the earth is grounding, but
Yep.
it's also grounding in the sense that we've been so scattered. We've been so pushed all over the place, so chaotically strewn about,
Yeah.
that reconnecting with the mother is the only way really to connect with God. We have to go together to get her. We have to go down first and then come back up. And this has to be this, this is the process that we talk about.
And that's the AB originals whole message
Yep.
is the land, the mother.
Yep.
She will teach you everything
Yep.
you need to know.
Everything.
God works through that.
Yes.
It's
She
so
will raise you.
beautiful. And that's where, yeah, exactly. That's the magic.
Yeah, and what virtually everybody say about these ancient cultures is that they were the true geniuses. And what's the first thing when you ask them? What's the first thing they say? It comes from her. All of the wisdom comes from her. And what's the first thing God created when we fell from singularity into duality? First thing He created was the mother. That is the earth. So she is a mirrored creation of God, from singularity and metaphysicality into solidity upon the material plane, but they are both the truth.
And we'll all be able to tap into the Akashic records because that's just the information in the ethers. That's God's
And-
truth. And we'll
Yeah.
all be able to tap into that and we'll be able to share that. And we won't have to, I mean, we can if we want, but we won't have to write books or read books
That's
because it's just all downloaded. to you.
exactly, folks. And this is the other thing. Like Colleen says, moving forward, we have to do our own research. Okay, but this is where it gets fun and good, because the research that Colleen and I are telling you to do, I mean, it starts with what Eugene and Justin were just talking about, which is just shoving your kid out into nature and letting them learn from the mother, but it's traveling. So one of the first things that we all need to do is we have to start meeting one another. We need to know the wisdom of the Nepalese. We need to know the wisdom of the Indians. We need to know the wisdom of the Pakistanis. We need to know the wisdom
Perspective.
because they are us. They are just another variation or version of us. And they're the most loving, trust me, Chinese, Japanese, the most loving people, family-oriented, that you could ever hope to meet.
Koreans too.
And Koreans.
Not biased.
Koreans too. And all we need to do is wonder and allow the God to
all.
guide our feet.
Not all who wander are lost.
No. Aragorn had a path, and he was the unifier of two kingdoms into one. This is what it's all about, the unity consciousness, two realms into one. So this homework that you're going to do moving forward is travel. Isn't that fun? Isn't that fun? And not the kind of travel that is on a stupid airplane that goes to a stupid resort somewhere and you don't meet anyone except, other disgruntled Canadians or Americans, and
Who have 2 weeks off a year and are just trying to pack everything in so that they can burn themselves
that's right.
and go home with a tan
Yeah, absolutely. So
and drink themselves silly on some sort of free alcohol.
that's right. And this way we're gonna find our Scottish roots. We're gonna find our Irish heritage. We're gonna go on to the moors. We're gonna go on to the downs, and we're gonna backpack it. And we're
We're
gonna
gonna
meet.
feel the druids in the forest.
That's right. We
And
are
the
gonna
leprechauns
we're gonna
and the-
meet people face to face, back door, back porch to back porch. And this is what it's gonna be
Have
like moving forward.
authentic connections. That's what we're totally looking for. All of us. We're just looking for authentic connections where the cell phone is no longer a part of our
Interface.
Control, yeah, it doesn't control us.
Yeah, we're gonna meet the Druze everywhere we go. We're gonna meet the Aryans everywhere we go. We're gonna meet the real Jews everywhere we go. And what you're gonna see is the exact opposite of what has been painted. The picture that's been painted for you for the last 100 years is a lie.
And now let's talk about bloodlines. So what happens when you do the work and alchemically, how do we change? Is there a possibility that we become one of the Christed bloodlines?
Well, of course, Colleen and we had this discussion earlier
Right.
today. So this is sort of the essence of what we're talking about. And so what Colleen knows that we're all of the marriage of Indian bloodline, and we are. And this is the bloodline of the Lord and the Lady Christ, which is this purified bloodline of 42. So that is the 3 perfect bloodlines of 14.
Do you want to
And-
write this down? Is this something we can?
No, not quite yet, but so yeah, so the three perfect bloodlines of 14, and essentially, just really quickly, once again, it ultimately is from Abel, but they started from Abraham to King David. And remember, in the New Testament of the Bible, it's so important that you learn everything that you can about King David, because everything that was about King David is absolutely the right way. So what did he do? He observed. He took his time. He observed. He got a whole picture of who everyone was, and thus he knew whom his enemies were. He knew whom he could trust and what he could not trust. He knew what his enemies were up to, and he knew what was right and what was wrong. And what did David do when he encountered wrong? No matter what the consequences were, he said, I have to correct this. I have to rearrange this, or I have to die trying. And this is the reality and the choice that we have every single day. Every single day we're confronted with a lie. Every single day that we're confronted with the system, we have to die in the attempt to resurrect ourselves back to freedom, because William Wallace had it exactly right. Life is not living if you do not possess freedom, and freedom can only be bestowed to you from within. The crown that you wear comes from the work that you do within yourself. And as William Wallace said, none of this is worth having if we are not truly free. And so
And those were his dying words.
and that's
Freedom.
that's right. And that is King David. That is King David of this pure bloodline. And then it's from King David to the rise of Babylon, and then from the peak of Babylon to Jesus Christ. There are 3 groupings of 14 divine, Christed individuals that heard the call and went on the journey What was Abram and Sarai all about to become Abraham and Sarah? That's it. They went on a journey. Jesus Christ went on a journey. King David went on a journey. Everyone on this list listened to the call and went on a journey. It's what-
Immaculate journey.
immaculate journey is what you're supposed to do. And you may die along the way, but the gift is eternity, heaven upon earth.
The gift is you rise.
The gift is that you rise and to the real treasures of this world where moths do not corrupt and rust does not seek and find and thieves cannot break through in the night. It's untouchable. You become untouchable by doing the work within you. There was a quote, something that Eugene said much earlier, and it's so important. So I want to read. It's incredible that he mentioned it tonight. And so this is the Gnostic Secret. So we talked about that the Essenes to the Gnostics, to the Knights Templar, to the Freemasons. And the Gnostic secret was this: human life does not fulfill its promise within the structures and establishments of organized society. No one comes to true selfhood by being what society wants you to be and doing what society wants you to do. Now, what I just read to you is known as the great secret of the Gnostics. It is their credo. And what I just said to you is this: anyone who belongs to society and identifies themselves by your role in society, you're a mask wearer, you're a persona. That's why societies rule over persons. God is not a respecter of persons, because a person is a fakery. It's not the real deal. And this is what we must learn, that if we're going to have any form of society moving forward, it must serve you. It must serve us. It cannot be the other way around. And by the way, when you do the research on Adolf Hitler, what you find is that Adolf Hitler had the greatest respect for the individual and saw that these great nations under God were the most beautiful, miraculous creations, because it was all of these sovereign men and women volunteering to come together as one, a fatherland, not under Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler was simply the regent of the real father. And that's why they called it the fatherland, because it was everyone in alignment with the mother to rise up to the Father in heaven. And that's the SS, by the way. And the double S is the double sine wave, and the double sine wave is the Taurus field, and that is you. That is your auric field, that is you, and that is the greater world out there of the entire creation.
And we're taking back the pyramid, which is the Holy Trinity, which is the Father, Mother, Child. We're taking back all of those symbols. We're taking back all of those sigils and all of that gnosis, and we're going to own it. And it will empower us. God's truth is there for us to create.
This is
co-creators.
That's right. And this is your world. It was made for you. You are a one-off. And as Alan Parsons Project sing in their incredible song, No Answers, Only Questions, the distance between us is a mystery to us all. The difference between us is so small, but we, no matter how small it is, we are unique. Each one of you is a unique creation of God. So this is why
a unique spark.
That's right,
the
a
creator.
unique spark of the
Hence,
creator.
son of God. That's why we're little sons, and that's why we're stars. Yeah.
Exactly. That's beautiful.
Yeah, I have so many incredible quotes.
And we're becoming mass stars.
Well, yeah, piggybacking off of what you were saying, Charlie, and we just need to give up these false idols, because that's what society is. That's what caring about another person's opinion on you is. It's just bowing down to false, what was it, graven images or whatever? It's false idols. So.
Which is ego, right?
Yes.
If you're trying to base your reality off anything outside of yourself, then you are participating in false idol worship. And
Yep.
you know, it doesn't matter if it's someone else's opinions, or if it's this that even if the figure Jesus Christ is going to save you for all your sins, like that is idol worship. Anything else, if you're relying on the government, like it doesn't matter. If you're relying on anything other than you and your connection with God, that is idolatry.
That's incompetence.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Which is the root of all of this.
Yes.
You know, it's this, we've talked about it before, but the grand conspiracy is this separation illusion, and how to
Exactly.
push separation as
Yep.
much as possible. And so they've just come up with all these different ways to get us as separate from ourselves, as separate from God as possible. And it's you know, it's very clever when you look at it, how they've done it. But that's the solution. It's just come back to that, which is everything that we constantly talk about and we constantly teach. It's just doing the work.
It's knowing thyself,
yeah,
right?
knowing
We
thyself.
have to know thyself.
Mhm.
And that's what this journey is all about.
Yep.
And that's our journey there and back again. And
Mhm.
as we fall, and we learn ourselves as we fall, and we learn ourselves as we rise.
Yeah.
And then as we live 1,000 years, we can figure all that stuff out. But this 70, 60 years thing, it ain't working. It ain't working. So we need to do the work to get to this place where we can regenerate. And, you know, the best is yet to come. So if there's aids to begin with to help us on our way, these little stepping stones of Regeneron or med beds, or that's awesome. And it'll give us that, you know, that quicker jump that we may need to get us to that point. But
Well, let's hope
Doing
in
the
the
work,
beginning
there-
it's just to save lives, right?
Right.
Like, you know,
people who are in, you know, fourth,
like Sarah's father, and yeah.
exactly, exactly,
Yeah, and it, you know, it'll be at first, it'll just be a quick recalibration.
exactly.
And just like when what we experience with cleaning up our physical food, our diet, when so the way I see it is this will give us a recentering. It'll get us back to how reality is. And if we stray from that, so if you think that you can just go on a med bed and then go back to eating burgers and pizza and all other kind of stuff, like you'll be sorely mistaken. Because if these med beds or however they roll out this sort of recalibration, getting us back to health, you're going to feel the damaging effects of those toxins as soon as you start to
And
reintroduce
I would
them.
guess that you're gonna vomit as soon as you eat
Yes,
pizza after you've been recalibrated, because your body's gonna say, what the heck have you
Yeah.
done to me?
What the hell?
Blech. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
HE double hockey sticks,
Yeah.
like seriously, right?
Mhm.
And because you know how you feel when we go off on silly things, like I had broccoli the other day and I didn't feel great. And
wow.
it's like, right? But
That's pretty cool. That's a pretty big sized bat.
oh, I saw
Al-
that.
Almost went into the house, and then just came right towards Justin's light.
I didn't see
So
that.
He was probably eating insects.
Yeah, thank
hi,
you.
hi Batman, go find the belfry.
Was it Trump?
Yeah, but just wanted to reiterate that, because I think there are a lot of people who are looking for these solutions to be like, you know, the way for them to continue not doing the work and to continue down this lifestyle and just have, you know, the get out of jail free card. But no, it's going to be a way to push us even further into doing the work. It's just going to allow us for the first time ever to not have these inhibiting external factors from the cabal always pushing their madness. So we'll truly get to not even be able to blame anyone else. So we will have to take full responsibility of everything.
Mea culpa.
Yeah.
Absolutely bet my life on this. So we won't have triggers like television and all the commercials with pizza and beer and
Right.
and the sex going on all over the place. That we're just not going to have that. This will be a meretricious, beautiful, righteous, virtuous.
The game is rigged. The table is tilted.
Mhm.
Nobody seems to notice, and nobody seems to care. You know,
But it's up to
again,
us to say no more of that.
Yeah, you're watching a sporting event where a guy is hitting a little round ball with a stick and making more money than you if you were to go around the loop 10,000 times. And just because he can fail 7 out of 10 times hitting a little ball with a stick, and he's making $100 million, and you're okay with this? Like next year moving
And you're a
forward.
sanitation worker and you're taking away all of the shite
Yep.
of people's lives. And that is a beautiful, glorious service to others, well, like, holy cow, I would pay that guy
Yeah.
$1 million a year.
But nobody needs to do this work. Just so you know,
Right,
moving
right.
forward, the technology exists commonsensically, where you don't need to work. And don't let anyone ever tell you that you're just going to sit around, do nothing, or play video games or eat food and grow fat. No, the very essence of creation is to create. You're the co-creator with God. As soon as you're free, the first thing that you're going to do is get off your ass, and you're going to start to learn how to do shit.
And when
then
you
you'll start
clean up your
co-creating with
vessel,
God.
you have energy
Mhm.
and you want to do things. You become inspired
Mhm.
by the breath of God.
That's right.
That's what God does. He inspires you.
Marketing is pure evil, and television is nothing more. They just needed product to be able to have advertising. Why? Because advertising controls your mind. It's entertainment. It enters and holds the mind. That's what commercials and marketing are. It's all just clever. Remember, there's no need for money. There's no need for an economic system. There's no need for corporations. There's no need for jobs. None of it. None of it is necessary. It's all created to give you something to do to get you out of the house, so that your kids, as Eugene said earlier, so that your kids can be controlled by them. And remember, it's none of this, kindergarten at 5 and then grade 1 at 6 or any of this nonsense. You're a mom and a dad both working. You're back to work in 6 weeks. Sorry. And that kid is in prison the moment it goes into these institutions. I'm sorry,
Up at
it's just the way it
6:30
is.
into the car, over
Yep.
to the babysitters.
Yep.
Like, oh my
who is
God, is that why
stressed?
we have children?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
shame on us.
Yeah.
Shame on us for allowing that.
That's right.
No more.
Downloading all the insecurities from the other children who are, being abused by
Right?
the system in other ways.
Handing them a phone so
absolutely.
that they can look at their little
We-
cartoons on their way. So
candy
it'll
and-
just,
Yeah.
and then give them a
cheese
candy so
and-
that they just.
Oh, and they need milk. We got to get
Yeah.
these kids milk.
Lots
Okay,
of-
that has to be a
Lots of
policy.
cheese, lots of bread.
Yeah, exactly.
Pizza all the time.
Absolutely. Quick, easy foods,
We're
because you're dealing
poisoning our
with a
children
bunch. Yeah.
and we're good parents.
And Colleen just fielded another one of these ridiculous phone calls the other day, and it was once again people being concerned how, let's say, certain kids are growing up without access to a bunch of friends, and that modern science is powerfully showing us that if your kids by the age of just past a year are not regularly interacting with other kids, it's going to severely restrict their growth when it comes time that they have to go into school or
Socially.
whatever else. What a load of horseshit. When anyone tells you that you just throw your kids in with a bunch of other kids and that's how they learn, wow, you're being lied to by the worst demons ever.
Throwing your kids into a pool of sharks.
The-
Sounds like a good idea.
Where are these kids from? What are their belief systems? What have they learned? So you're just throwing them to the wolves, and the wolves are just teaching each other, and wolves, before they become a pack, are tearing at one another and ripping one another to shreds before they learn to form a pack. So you are doing the worst service to your kids. Don't ever believe this stuff. If you choose to play this role, as it's your choice to do this, if you're going to have kids, and if you are, you have to become their best friend, and you have to play with them, and it should be the greatest joy in the world doing this. And that's where they learn. This is how they learn to become kind men, not by playing with other kids and learning to lie and cheat and steal and rob and hit somebody over the back of the head because they've got a car that's shiny and purple and you wanted the car that's shiny and purple. This is where you learn the carnal, diseased world. No, you become their playmate. You become their best friend. You show them the light. You show them the way through the mother and the father. You show them the light. You show them the way.
And
You
let
don't
them-
want to do this, don't have kids.
And let them show you too.
And then let them
Beautiful.
show you. It is a
Thank you.
two-way street.
Mhm.
Because they want to.
There's no such thing as teach without learning. It
That's
has to,
right.
they're always, if you're teaching,
Reciprocal.
you're also learning. And if you're not viewing that relationship as this duality in all moments, then you're not truly teaching and you're not truly learning.
Yeah,
It has to be.
If learning doesn't go both ways, it's propaganda.
Yeah,
It's just
exactly.
that simple.
Yeah, there's an agenda. There's a lie behind it. There has to be. And when there's truth behind it, then it's just truly like let me share, but let me also receive. It's this two-way path.
And like Krishnamurti always like saying, we are inquiring together. As humanity, we are asking the question together. And that's what we need to start doing, because no one's asking questions right now.
Right.
Because we're all from the one Father, and we're all from the one Mother. Make no mistake about it. This propensity in history for each of us to refer to one another as brothers and sisters, because it's true, because we're brothers and sisters. We come from the one Father, we come from the one Mother. Our earthly parents are very wonderful and can be, and very, very loving and very important, but they're role players. They're a pair of rents. They're playing a role in your experience. And if you're going to enter into that one, you have to take it seriously. And then Justin just said it so perfectly, that symbiotic relationship of best pals, playmates, and you teach and you learn. And when you need it most, your children will show you the way. They'll show you, don't get caught up in these problems. There are no problems. Remember me. Let me remember you. Let us remember each other. And this is the true treasure of the world. And
Weren't we talking about remember? the
Oh,
other day?
yes. I'm thinking about that right now.
Want to enlighten us?
Oh, yeah. I mean, just the whole idea of remember. And then I don't know exactly what context we were talking about that in, but yeah, I mean, it's just a reword. So it's the right brain. So once you connect, you're wired and
Rightfully establishing us as a member.
Exactly.
So
And
we're becoming a member of a community, a member of God again, right?
And I like the word internet because it's magnetic. It's a net. So cast your net to the right. It's just that simple.
Yeah.
And net backwards is 10. It's whole, it's complete. So it's the net, it's the sum. So the summation is us. Yeah.
Beautiful.
yeah, and remember 10 is Aten, which is Adam and Eve, and is Atum, and it
It'd be
is
interesting to do the gematria on
atom.
that as well, on those words.
Yeah.
We'll have to do that.
Well, again, quick, simple for an atom, ATOM, which houses molecules. These molecules are points of light, which are photon, which is God, and which is magnetic, and which is eternal. And so if you look at atom, A is 1, T is 20, O is 15, and of course M is the middle mother, movement, motion, magnetism, Mary in the middle, and that's 13. So yeah, you've got 21 and
49?
36 and 46 and 49. So 7, 7, 7, 7 and 7, 7 and 7 is 49,
Wow.
and 4 and 9 is 13.
Middle.
13 is the one surrounded by the 12, and again, some certain, you just need to know the divinity of the number 13, and don't let anyone tell you different. The night sky teaches us. The night sky teaches us that the chosen one, is always followed by the 12. And what do you have within you? I mean, in your head, you have the third ventricle of the brain waiting to become the 13th cranial nerve, surrounded by the 12 cranial nerves. In your body, you have your solar plexus, and the solar plexus is surrounded by the 12 sympathetic nervous systems. And in the sky, you have the sun, and its entire journey is to go through the great year, which is, the 26,000 years. The great year to go through each of the houses, because Jesus is a playboy, and he likes to get around, so he's got a house in each one of these different places, and that's the house. So he goes through the 12 constellations. Everywhere you go, it's 12, and they surround the chosen one. You're the chosen one. You're the chosen one. Your physiology and of the mind and of the body teaches you and tells you powerfully that you are the chosen one, and you have a job to do. Jesus Christ was always surrounded by 12. You're surrounded by 12. 12 plus 1 is 13. 7, 7 is 49. 4, 9 is 13. Adam and Eve to return to singularity in heaven with God by doing the work, by becoming the Christed ones. Adam and Eve had to become Lord and Lady Christ. Christ is a title. That's why ultimately the title for Jesus Christ would always be Christ Jesus, because he's the Christed one, and you only get that by doing the work. So it's a remarkable story. There's a wonderful quote. This is from the book of Luke. Let me just turn my little flashlight on here. And Luke 12:32. Fear not, little flock, for it is God's pleasure to give heaven to you.
Wow.
See, fear not, fear nothing. Heaven is your born right. It is the star that you're born under. The stars are heaven upon earth. That's why they're in the earth. That's why they are either connected to the firmament or holes in the firmament, because they passeo, they pass you to the Father. So when you see the sun during the daytime, you're looking at God. When you're looking at the stars at nighttime, you're looking at God. When you're staring into the ocean, you're looking at the Mother. When you're walking barefoot anywhere on this earth, you're connecting with the Mother. When you're looking at the moon in the sky for her fortnight, you're looking at the Mother. They're around us.
It's our heritage. Look at that word, heritage.
Yeah.
H-E-R-I.
Her,
Age.
divine her in the physical, herit, age. It is the age of the divine feminine in the physical form. Mother Earth, heritage, Mother Earth. By the way, that's why every time you hear the word heritage or you see the word heritage used, it's always talking about these better days, right? Heritage days. It's always a better time. Yeah, it's always been a better time when we're not in cities where they cover the Mother with asphalt and concrete, so you can't have the Mother.
There's a park. Okay, sweetheart. There's a park in Calgary. It was called Heritage Park. And I loved going there because it was all the old, heritage. And they had like you churning butter, and you had all these people dressed up, and it was like acting out what they. I just think I would love to just be here and just spend my time here and get to know these people. Like, wouldn't it be fun to just live in that? And I love that. It's just connecting back, and of living in the city, you just crave that. What are you hearing, baby? What are you hearing? She's saying, yes, the Mother.
Yeah.
It's all about the Mother.
Here's an incredible quote. This is from 2 Corinthians 12:2. And this is the Apostle Paul speaking. And this is an out-of-body experience. So we're talking about tonight that Jesus and the Bible did nothing but talked about this metaphysical experience, talked about meditation. The Bible and especially Jesus in the New Testament is all about meditation. That's every time he went in to the Mount of Olives and got from the carnal world out there, which is always, threatening to drag him down like a millstone around his neck. He went into the Mount of Olives by himself in silence before he returned. And then he was just all good again, all recharged. So this is the Apostle Paul, and this is 2 Corinthians 12:2. I know a man named Christ about 14 years ago, and whether in the body or in the mind, I cannot tell. And he got caught up into the third heaven, and he heard unspeakable words spoken. I mean, wow. So about 14 years ago, a cycle, I knew a man by the name of Christ, and whether in body or in the mind, I cannot tell, because I was out of my mind. I was in some mystical place, so I don't really know where I was, but I know that I met Christ, and he had got caught up into the third heaven, which third is the third ventricle of your brain, which activates the pineal gland, which is a portal to God. And there he heard unspeakable words. Why would these words be unspeakable?
And
Because,
exactly.
because God is silence. Every single where you look in the Bible, it always refers to God is still and silent. But you think your earth is tilting and wobbling and spinning and twisting and, scuba diving and dancing and doing all of these incredible things and being dragged halfway across the galaxy at, 1,000,000 miles an hour, being pulled in 5 different directions, or
But the stars are the exact same.
the exact same position all of the
That's a
time.
miracle.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Or you've been lied to. So,
True, absolutely.
yeah.
What do you see?
So now, Colleen said something earlier, very, very powerful, and that was, is there any hope from us to resurrect, and where do we come from? So yeah, so we all came from the Merovingian and Merovingian bloodline, and it is true. This is the sacred bloodline.
Let's break that word down. Mara,
Marrow,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mary,
Yeah,
Mar.
that's right. Yeah, which is in the ether rising, MER rising, in the O is the Ouroboros. So it's just that form of rising. And then V is the vagina, but it's Merovingian, which is the vine, the divine godly vine, rising to the single eye within. And that's precisely what the Kundalini experience is. And that's why it's the Merovingian bloodline, because it is the sacred mother rising with the child to the single eye, the divine eye.
That's able.
And to do that, you have to be able. You can't be Cain. You can't be Cain. You have to be able.
Which is a balanced
State.
Mhm.
That it is.
The
And
golden-
it's a choice. So it's a choice. It's a complete choice.
It's an activation.
And so are we to this in this moment, are the bulk of us of the Merovingian bloodline? Not anymore. Why? Because we toxified it to death. So, but is there a way to say, geez, I'm sorry, I didn't know any better. Like, please don't judge me. Please don't be angry with me, God. I didn't know any better, because from the moment that I was birthed as a ship onto this dry dock land, as a
Cast-
ship,
Cast out into the water.
that's right. And they have been lying to me ever since. So what will God say? You have all of my love, and you have all of my forgiveness, and all of my sympathy. But when you know better,
You got to do better.
you have to do better. So do you want to be of the Merovingian bloodline once more? Yes. Then once again, you have to do the work. There's no other way. You have to do the work. The reason again is because if you didn't have to go on this incredible miracle journey, if you didn't have to work incredibly hard, you wouldn't appreciate any of this. You wouldn't learn anything from this. This is the task of tasks. This is the journey of journeys. And when you do this, when you read Revelation, and it talks about this sacred lamb that was killed. It was killed. It was slaughtered. It was slaughtered upon the stone, or upon a cross. It was slaughtered, but it made the journey, because what you realize is that of the physical, you must have this crucifixion along the way. You must allow the necessity for the ego mind. This is all Carl Jung taught about in the second half of his life, but nobody knows about this because nobody talks about Carl Jung in the Red Book, which is just as good as any of these ancient scriptures. It's that good. And that's all he's talking about. That Carl Jung is essentially said, which is the theme for the ultimate theme for the higher message tonight, which is that Jesus taught the Kundalini Rising. Everything that Carl Jung talked about is that you have to get to the Father, but it's impossible to get to the Father unless you raise her, and you have to do the work to raise her. And she's hidden away deep down within you as the coiled serpent. Now, as we're going through this, I think that this will really rock some people's worlds. I've talked about this before, but it's always fun to go over it again. And this, by the way, ties in my topic or gnosis that I've been sharing with you, that ultimately there are three journeys we have to go on. The 360-degree journey, the 720, which is 72 hours, which is 3 days and 3 nights. And then there is, in the book of Revelation, we have to go on the 1260 journey. So again, in book of Revelation, the 1260 is always tied to 42. How do you get 42 to become 1260? 42 times the 30 degrees of separation.
Which is the wheel.
Which is the wheel, which is
The zodiac.
which is the chosen one surrounded by the 12 constellations, the zodiac wheel. And this is that 30 degrees of separation. So
Between each angle of light.
so when we fell, the wholeness of the truth fell apart from us, and it shattered into 12 pieces. And your journey, O Christed one, is to collect these 12 houses or these 12 pieces and piece them back together. That's why Colleen and I teach the zodiac as a clock. And because you're telling time, you're telling your time, which is your essence as you go around this wheel here. So this is precisely who you are and what you must do.
So if someone wants to make a video game, this would be a good one. Go along and collect all of the pieces of light of the zodiac. And
That's right.
what a journey.
And how do we know that it's 30? Because the zodiac is all about becoming the completed circle, which is every circle is 360 degrees. So if you have 12 components of the wheel, then 12 times 30 gets you 360 degrees. So there's the 12 and 30, 360, the first journey, raising the chrism oil within you, Jesus Christ, becoming Christ-like is the first step. This is what you must do. And you can all do it. You can absolutely all do it. But what we're teaching you is that you can't just do this for 3 days. It is a way of life. It is a way because it is Christ. And he was the truth, the light, and the way, because he spoke the truth. So you know that this is 30. So then the 24-hour clock, when you unify the day and the night, the mother and the father, the left-hand path and the right-hand path, red shift and blue shift, when you unite the duality into the singularity by raising Christ consciousness, because he's the conqueror of the division, he crosses the river. Again, this is, all these stories, Jacob, they all relate back to this necessity to cross this river, because when you do become the master of your journey and you're uniting two worlds, the right hemisphere of your brain, the left hemisphere of the brain is one. When you do this, then your clock becomes based solely upon the 24 hours of the day. So you have the sun during the day and the moon at the night. So once again, this is that duality which you have to master, and you're mastering. And you do this through the 24. Now 24 times 30.
But just remember, 24 is 4 plus 2, which is 6, is the journey. So 24-hour clock is the journey that we must take. The numbers tell you what it is.
Well, in dark to light, you reverse the 24 hours, and the 24 hours gives you the third journey, which is 42. 42 times 30, which is 1260. That's why everything in the book of Revelation is telling you that you must go on this 1260-day journey
into the wilderness
by fleeing into the wilderness 42 days, 42 to the 1260, 30 degrees of separation. It's all about the 30 because it's piecing the puzzle back together again. So that's why we teach it as this clock, as a connected puzzle to get to cancer, which is the worst disease ever. You're all going to die.
One of the three of us have.
That's right. You're all going to die from cancer,
Acidic,
or
toxic bodies.
Or cancer is the symbolic journey that you have to get to, which is the unification of becoming twins in Gemini, to becoming perfectly balanced between the duality, in the duality to become singularity again, which takes you to 1 at 1 o'clock, which is Leo, which gives you the mother at 2 o'clock, Virgo, which is the Virgin Mother Mary, to become born again upon 3 o'clock, which is upon level, which is free. You're born free. And if you're not free, you're not born, then you're just birthing you're a ship and birthing in the Maritime Admiralty law system. So you see how this all works? You have to stand up for freedom in all moments, William Wallace. All of you are William Wallace. And why would it be WW? Because the W is an upside down M. The womb is the womb of the mother. Mother is M, womb is W, MW. Where it comes from. And now unify them together. Have you ever done that? Put the M above and the W below. What do you have? Oh my gosh, you have essentially the double sine wave, which therefore is the torus field. So then that is the wholeness of your creation, which is 2 worlds as one. 2 worlds as one. This is miraculous stuff. Okay, so now how do we get to these? How do we get to these numbers, and where do we get to this the magical place
And
of
just
1260?
Just note that 1080, we use that all the time.
that-
1080p
Well, that's right. The pinnacle of video out there in the out there world is 1080 by 720. 1080 by 720. 1 and 8 is 9, and 720 is 72, and 7 and 2 is 9, and 72 is
3 days, 3
is 3
nights.
days and 3 nights, and 18 is chi or ki, which is the energy, the ether, the energy of life, and this is your divinity. This is your immortality. So that's why it would be 1080 by 720. Now, we are taught and told mystically and within the Bible as well, and through all the other cultures, that the Kundalini, which is this feminine magnetic energy coiled up down at the base of us in the root Muladhara chakra. So it's likened to a cobra, which is coiled up 3.5 times inside a basket and can only be coaxed out by the sweetness of the music of a flute. And truth be told, that the cobra doesn't actually hear. That's why they take the lid off, because it doesn't hear the music, but it sees the flute swaying back and forth, and it rises in this dance, left to right, masculine to feminine, above and below, red shift, blue shift, left hand path, right hand path, and it twists and it turns as it rises, and that's what the serpent does. Now, why is this symbolicness essentially made into 3.5 twists or 3.5 coils? So why is this serpent, which is, you don't have a snake inside of you, so okay, so don't worry about that. It's an allegory, but the serpent within you is the serpentine energy. So this is a coiled magnetic eternal force which rises. So it's a scalar wave trapped and wanting to get out, and that's what it is. So serpentine energy, or the earth, wind, and fire song, serpentine fire, is to uncoil and rise you to the baptism of fire. That's the job of the mother, to
Which is
take you to the
crucifixion.
Father, which that's right, which is this crucifixion of the left
Which is a
brain
charging 1,000-fold
to
to
get
push
out
you-
of the left brain
to
and
push you in
into
through
heaven.
past the blood-brain barrier
That's right.
after the 33rd vertebrae of Atlas to get you to that ring the bell
Right,
and activate your pineal gland.
that's right. Okay, so now how does this all work, and how does this tie in this trilogy book series that I'm going to be writing on which is essentially Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, the Two Towers, and the Return of the King. It's so all amazing. It's incredible. Here's how it works. Why twisted coiled 3.5 times, and why does it have to uncoil 3.5 times? Because every journey that you have to do is the completion of this journey, which is in a circle, because the earth is a circular plane. It's level, but it's a circular plane, 360 degrees. So if you take 3, which is the whole numbers, 3 whole numbers of 3.5, if you take the 3 and multiply it by 360 degrees, it's 1080. 1080p. 1080p is 3 times 360 degrees. What is half of 360? Half of that, which is the half coil, 3.5 times coiled up, is these 3 journeys, 360 degrees to complete it. The half of 360 is 180. What happens if you add, now this, you're going to blow you away. What happens if you add 1080 and 180 to the 1080? 1260. What is the number that dominates the most important book in the whole Bible? It's called the Book of Life. This is called the Book of Revelation, is known as the Book of Life.
We should look up the Q drop 1260.
For sure. And so 1260 is that number, which is reference to the 42. Okay. So 1260 is the uncoiling of the Kundalini. So again, ladies and wonderful gentlemen, members of the Freak Sense family, why are we here? What are we supposed to do? We're supposed to flee to God 42 days into the wilderness. Wilderness is untamed. So there's no organized society. That's what it means. So that would be the pastures of the right hemisphere of the brain that you never go to. So it's a wilderness because you've never been there before.
And you don't have to leave home to do it.
That's right. It's within you. But that's the journey that you have to go on to. So the Book of Revelation says that you must flee into the wilderness for 42 days. And there ye shall find a house. Wow, what are you, Christ or something? And you go through 12 houses, every 2,333 years, 2,333 to make 26,000. So you have to flee, and then there's a house that you will find provided for you by God. And then for 1,260 days, what do? You take only, what does the book of Revelation say? You take only nourishment from God. Now, God is non-physical. God is in stillness and silence. God does not make bread. God does not make food. You're not eating cheeseburgers in paradise. No, that's not how it works. The food or the nourishment of God for 1,260 days in the wilderness is take no thought for your life. So you become the lamb. You become the sheep to receive the purely white, fluffy white sheep thoughts from God. And this is what we must do. These are the three journeys. So we raise the chrismol, then you master of the 3 days and 3 nights, the fasting of no thought, the fasting of no food, even of no water for 3 days and 3 nights. You must conquer you by ruling you for 3 days and 3 nights. And that's why the 72 hours and the number 72 is so important. So if you chant something, chant it 72 times. This is mastery. 72 is mastery, right? And how do you get 72? From 27. Why? Because that's 999, which is most high, divine, divinity. 3 nines representing, father, mother, child is 27. And dark to light, the inverse of 27 is, which is 9, by the way, and the inverse of that is 72. 72 is 3 days and it's 3 nights, and that's 9. And this is this divine journey that we go on. And so to be able to do this, you have to flee into the wilderness and take only thought from God, which nourishes you. You don't need anything else but the pure thought from God. And when you're in meditation, when you go through life in a dreamy sort of state, you can go days without eating food and you never miss it because you're not present in the land of presence to be worried that, oh shit, I needed to eat something, because if I don't, my glaucoma will come up again, or my glucose levels will drop, or, I might get diabetes because, geez, stop.
Once your alchemical system, you're the alchemist, you're not going to have those same needs and desires, because and your body won't be
Santa
toxic.
Claus is now working for you
Drip,
again, because
drip,
you're a good
drip.
child, and drip, 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 the endocrine system, a little bit here, a little bit. He does everything for you. Santa works for you, but only for the good boys and the good girls. And that's
If
why
you've been naughty,
that's right.
pizza, burgers, beer, and not nice virtues, hurting people, hurting yourself.
Exactly. Then there's no presence for you. When you're in the presence of God, you don't need food because nothing else matters. You're so awake and aware in that presence of God that you don't need to eat food. This is just the passion of the Christ. This is the passion of the Lord. This is the passion of God.
But I wouldn't suggest that you try this, cold turkey.
Exactly.
It's a process and it could take years.
Why is all of this stuff encoded? Why is the language of God a cipher system? Because it's not meant for everyone right away. And this is why faith is necessary, but it's far from the be all and end all.
We're the apprentices becoming the master. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we are students and we
Yeah.
must learn. And slowly, as we clean ourselves up, the process could take a very long time, but it doesn't matter. And that's the whole message is just
it's
begin
your
it
journey.
today.
Exactly. It's your journey. How long it takes that's a judgment. That plays no role in this. It doesn't matter. Just get started on the journey. It doesn't matter how long it takes. But know this. Jesus wiped his ass with faith. Jesus wiped his nose with hope. Jesus was a Gnostic warrior because he knew. Gnosis, Gnostic, is knowing, is knowledge. KN is GN. Knowledge is gnosis. Gnosis is knowledge.
King.
They're one and the same. They are one and the same. And you become kingly and king when you know.
K
So-
being
And a
balanced
knight.
and 11 and G being 7, God intervention.
And this is the night to become a king. You must know. You must know. And however long it takes you doesn't really matter because as long as you get there, that's all that matters. So, but the thing of the matter is, it does start with, you have to start somewhere. And if you're completely lost, then it does take faith. And then how do you graduate from faith to hope? You get to a point where faith will not take you any further, and you have to make a leap. You have to make a leap of faith. And that leap of faith gives you hope that you made it. So it gives you hope that this is all real. And then you continue the journey and you go as far as hope can take you. And then when hope can take you no far, then you need a miracle. You do. You truly need a miracle in your life. And ask and you shall receive. Knock on any door and it shall be opened for you. These are the teachings. Matthew 7:7. ASK, 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 ASK.
And isn't it
Jesus
amazing?
tells you.
Isn't it amazing when you look around at this point and you like on a day-to-day basis, moment to moment, all of these beautiful synchronicities, these
Oh, yeah.
beautiful magical rewards come to you. It's just, and you just start laughing at the beautiful magic that God has just bestowed upon you, and you're clear enough to see it, and you just kind of you give a little chuckle, and it was a sign here, or you know,
And God definitely has a sense of humor as
right?
well.
Super
it's
funny.
just it's
Yeah.
so beautiful, and then when you don't do the work and you don't have those things, and you kind of fall a little bit more, and then you just, but you might have a remembering,
Mhm.
and then the next day you're feeling a little more inspired, and it gets easier and easier each day. As you do the work each day, you don't fall as far the next.
It's like how they portrayed it in the Wizard of Oz, going from the black and white to the full color clarity. You know, you enter into that dark gray, dismal kind of like,
That's the
everything,
world.
you know, that's the false world, that's the illusion, and then you enter into the reality, and everything becomes vibrant and clear. And
We're off to see the wizard,
it's
the
amazing.
wonderful Wizard of Oz, the wonderful, 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 wonderful Wizard of Oz. Because you need a reason. Because that's what they're saying. You don't need a reason. Just because the wonderful Wizard of Oz.
Wonderful things he
And,
does.
and to get there, you had to go on a journey, and you needed 3 things. Imagine that you would need to find 3 things
What
along
were
the
they?
way.
What were they?
Well, you had the Scarecrow who was missing something. You had the Tin Man that was missing something, and you had the
Lion.
who was missing something.
And they were
So-
missing?
Well, one, you need a brain. Straw Man needed the brain, and the lion needed a heart. Can't be the Lion King without a heart. And
Lionheart.
That lion heart. It's just
And the third thing?
it's all there. And
Courage.
of course, and of course, the last
And-
is
Mhm.
courage. And the courage is to do this journey.
And those are all bestowed upon you by God.
Mhm.
And you have them. We are created with
No
all
one-
of that.
No one can take it away.
No one can
Ask
take it away.
and ye shall receive. Seek and ye shall find. Knock on any door and it shall be open for you.
It's not something we don't have. It's all inside of us. And you just have to remember and uncover it.
Hence encode, because it's an inward code. It's encoded.
It is. It's encoded inside of us cellularly.
So think of the word. Here's another way, a magical way of looking at the word remember. Okay, to remember. Think about this. This is REM, the REM ember. So with everything, it's all about the re to the mother, REM, which is, by the way, how do you get to the mother? You only do that through essentially meditation. That's how you raise the Kundalini, is stillness and silence, because, you know, that's the father and the mother wants to get to the father. And this is all about deep sleep and REM sleep. And that's, by the way, it's RE, which is REM. You know what it stands for? Rightfully establishing magnetism, Mother Mary magnetism within you, then you rise. Because what is a magnetism? It's a scalar wave. What is a scalar wave? It rises. That's what it is. REM, rightfully establishing magnetism within you. That's your kingdom. You're the king when you're magnetic, and you're a fool who falls down because you've got no brain, no heart, and no courage. And everything is black and white in this world. And then this is network. And you say, You say, leave me alone in my little apartment with my toaster of my TV and my steel belted radials. Just leave me alone. I'm not going to leave you alone. You have to get up off your knees. You have to go to the window. I want you all to go to the window right now. And I want you to open the window. I want you to scream out, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. I want to hear you. I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. I don't know what to tell you to write your congressman or your congresswoman. I don't know the price of rice, but I just know you first have to get mad. You're a human being, God damn it. Your life matters, God damn it. That's what this is all about. Get off your knees.
Recognize.
And remember. It's all about the spark of life. It's an ember, and your ember is all but gone. Blow on it.
The breath of God.
The breath of God.
Re-co together.
Men.
Re-co-G with God.
Exactly.
Yeah. And what is recommend? Right? Yeah. Mend by reestablishing the comms from God. What are the comms from God? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. Yeah, just, A, B, C. Talking about do, re, mi. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. A, B, C, do, re, mi. Baby, you and me.
We love you, Michael.
They all mean mother, father, child.
We love you, Michael.
Bet on alphabet. It's the alpha bet. Phi meaning growth.
Yeah, I mean, it is absolutely. So now here's a real treat for you. Justin is going to go to his laptop and he's going to go to the online King James Bible and he's going to go to the book of Revelation, right down at the bottom, the book of life. And by the way, you only get to heaven if you're only part of the 144,000 if your name is in the book of life. Your name only gets into the book of life if you do the work. If you go on this journey. If you don't go on this journey to reveal yourself to God, he can't bestow you with the divinity of 144,000. He can't put the mark on your forehead because depart from me. I never knew you. Depart from me. I never knew you. You never even tried to get off your knees. You never even tried to tilt the table.
Let the dead bury the dead. You have to be alive to receive what's coming.
God is the God of the living, not of the dead. But Jesus, I can't continue with you right now because my father died and I have to go and bury him. It's like, let the dead bury the dead. Wow, Jesus, you're so cruel. No, this is about life. Let the dead bury the dead. God is the God of the living. You must continue with me on this journey. If you're going to follow anyone, again, let me reiterate this once again. It's Jesus Christ. And it's all there for you. And the 1611 edition of the King James Bible is the closest thing that we have to pure divinity in the English language. And it's your born right. You're supposed to have this Bible in your home. It is where you put all important documents, and it kisses your important documents. It kisses all of the important things that symbolize you, and you keep it in this divine Bible. 1, 6, 1, 1. 1, 6 is 7, 11. You're lucky when you've got 7, 11. 7, God intervention to heaven, 11. Heaven, 11. 7, 11. 16, 11. 1 plus 6 plus 1 plus 1 is 9, which is divine. 1611 edition. You think all of this is not for naught? Nothing is not for naught. There's a message for everything. Okay, Book of Revelation, chapter 5, the 7 seals, the Kundalini Rising. The Bible teaches, Jesus Christ teaches, the Bible teaches nothing but meditation, nothing but going within, nothing but the divinity of raising the sacred Mother Mary, which is the Kundalini Rising. Justin, go.
All right. So chapter 5. And I saw in the right hand of him that sat on the throne a book written within and on the backside sealed with 7 seals.
Okay, guys, you don't need me to do this. Justin, Carl, and Eugene, take it away. That how many key points are in that statement? 4
Yeah.
massive things, and that's just 5-1, which is the journey of man. 50. And by the way, 317s Q, 317s is 51. 5-1. It's all encoded. But anyways, go guys. This is incredible. In that
go as far as that verse?
Yeah, decode it. Just decode
Well,
verse 1.
And I saw in the right hand path, go to the right, cast your net
Which
to
is
the right.
within, as within, so without.
Yep, that sat on the throne, a book written within, going within. We have to go within, it's not without. And on the backside, sealed with 7 seals.
Oh, is that atonement?
Yeah, that would be the 7 chakras and going through this full journey.
Written in the book of life. Revelation.
Yeah.
So the book of life is your journey, right? You have to write it. You have to become the author. You have to learn how to become an author, and you have to write your own story by going on this journey. And that's the book of life. And remember, you don't get to heaven unless your name is in the book of life. And if you don't go on the journey, you're never going to get your name into the book of life. If you don't start, you'll never get to the finish. You must at least start, and you'll get there. It just starting to rain. And so, I mean, this is incredible. So at the right-hand side, so the right-hand side is the right hemisphere of the brain. To get to the right hemisphere of the brain, the pineal gland is up and to the right inside of you.
Oh, no.
Should we run in?
Yeah,
Starting to rain.
it's just incredible. I don't know.
Maybe they don't want us to reveal things.
If we had a tarp.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's.
And okay, so quickly just
It'll
read
come down
5:2.
fast.
Okay, quickly just read 5:2.
Verse 5. And one of the elders saith unto me, weep not, behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, hath prevailed to open the book and to loose the 7 seals thereof.
Right, that was sort of the completion of 5:1, but just quickly read if we can, 5:2, 5:3,
Okay.
5:4, and then 5:5.
Sure. And I saw, so 5:2, and I saw a strong angel proclaiming with a loud voice, who is worthy to open the book and to loose the seals thereof? And no man in heaven, nor in earth, neither under the earth, was able to open the book, neither to look thereon. And I wept much, because no man was found worthy to open and to read the book, neither to look thereon. And one of the elders saith unto me, weep not, behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, hath prevailed to open the book and to loose the 7 seals thereof.
Wow. So no man was able to find the strength to be able to loose the seals, to be able to reveal the book of life within you.
Sounds like Arthur.
But a woman can. But a woman can, and of course it needs to be the right woman, which is the Virgin Mother Mary. And by the way, you look at all of this, and this is it says, but there is someone who can, and that resides with the tribe of Judah in the east to the right, and the tribe of Judah in the east at the foot of the mountain where the sun rises every single morning, and that is symbolized by Leo, and Leo is 1 o'clock on the clock, and that is, of course, the lion, the lion of the tribe of Judah, which is Leo, which is 1 o'clock. And what comes at 2 o'clock? Virgo, the Virgin Mary. And what is to the right of the Great Pyramid at Giza? You have, what is that structure to the right? It's a dualistic structure.
The Sphinx.
The Sphinx, and it's Virgo in front and the tail of the lion at the back, and that's this journey. So no man can open the 7 seals to release the truth, the river of truth flowing from the book of life within you, but a woman can. So see, this is the Kundalini. This is the Kundalini. The book of Revelation is telling you that the only way that you, the Christed child, can rise to heaven is by raising yourself, by raising the mother. No man, every man in heaven and earth tried, but none can. So you see, you need the mother. And in the Bible, they took the Holy Spirit, which is the spirit, is the essence, is this personification essence of the sacred feminine mother, and they turned it into the Holy Ghost. And then it's a boys' club, and there's no women allowed in this. It's ridiculous. Spirit is the Mother Mary. and she is the Kundalini Rising.
But look at the word ghost. It's so beautiful. Look at the letters of the
Yeah.
word ghost.
The-
And
it-
what, but what
G
they,
host, God's host.
You
Right?
host, that's right, you G
but,
host,
but what they turned it into is
Yeah.
just a horror.
that's
But,
right.
but anyway, this also reminds me of Arthur, because Arthur's is the one with his 12 round knights at the round table, which is the mother, which is 13, and he has to be righteous enough to take the sword out, to open the seal, and he is the son of God. So he is the lion of God and the lion heart. So he's the middle way. Just it's all in line. Just
Absolutely. And then when does he run into troubles upon the physical plane with Guinevere? Guinevere is metaphorically and geometrically in every single way. She's a representation of the pure virgin feminine mother. Guinevere is the virgin mother. I did that song decode. You can find the video on our YouTube channel with David Crosby from Crosby, Stills and Nash, Guinevere, and that's what it's talking about. But Arthur was worthy metaphysically to be able to remove the sword in the stone that was gifted, that raised out of the water by the lady of the lake.
an S tone. It's a stone. He hit the tone. He hit the frequency to open it up.
He had the right frequency to Kundalini raise. He had the S tone, which is the in alignment with the mother. So he had the right tone, S tone, to raise the sword from the stone. And where he ran into problems is that within the physical world, what happened in the legend of Arthur? He became so engrossed and enamored in the physical problems of all of his enemies. Whom did he betray with only left brain carnal thought? The mother, Guinevere. And so Guinevere betrayed, or who betrayed who? Guinevere betrayed Arthur and had the tryst with Lancelot. And Lancelot is been referred to as the Tropic of Cancer, and that is your pineal gland. Tropic of Capricorn is the pituitary gland, down and to the left below, and up and to the right above is Tropic of Cancer, Lancelot. And that's why in the Tin Man by the band America, and that big hit single, it's all about the Tin Man and what the Tin Man required, and it's going on this journey, and that's why it's Lancelot, and that's why it's the Tropic of Cancer, because it's saying that to be able to find what you need, you have to activate the pineal gland, and that's why you have to. The journey of life is the yellow brick road. So
Which of the Telegram people have been putting out a lot of stuff? Was it Silence Do It, or was it Ghost Ezra, talking about the pineal gland just in the last day or two?
I think that's that birds and wildlife and 3D. And
Right.
Under the other two you mentioned.
Right.
So
Thank you.
we might soon be rained out, not sure, but yeah, so this is sort of, the wholeness and the essence of the show tonight. That don't get freaked out about this. There's a lot of people that are coming to us. There's a lot of people that just saw the video on the takedown of organized religion from A to Z. Look, it's not me telling you any of this. It isn't. I'm only a messenger of what has been taught to me, and I'm only learning of the Father. I'm not getting this from anywhere else. And this is the one story, this one message. And by the way, these are the precise exact words of Jesus in the Bible. The culmination of the Bible and the culmination of the New Testament is the book of Revelation. This is the great reveal. This is where we are right now. And either you're going, to have to grow yourself 7 horns and 7 stars and 7 this and that. You have to complete the scale. And to complete a scale, you create a tonal frequency. So you have to be of the right tone, and that is the S tone. So all of this is about pulling the sword spine from the stone. As soon as you pull the sword from the stone, what can you do? What did Moses do? He cast it upon the earth. And instantly, what did the staff become? What did the sword become? Became a serpent. and the serpent rose. And just as Moses threw down the staff of man in the desert and rose to God in heaven, so must the Son of Man. For no man cometh to God, but first from God to the earth, even the Son of Man. So Jesus is telling you that he's not God himself, that he is the Son of Man, that he is the representation figure for us, because he's telling you that he was in heaven and he fell to this dualistic form, and he had to master the dualistic form. And that's why, just like King Arthur required the Lady of the Lake, the pure virgin metaphysical mother, the moon, he also then needed Guinevere of the land.
Wow.
Okay, and
Wow.
Guinevere was going past him to go directly to Lancelot, which is the pineal gland, because he was so inured in fighting wars and endless battles with endless enemies instead of just loving her. This is who you are. This is the journey that you must go on. This is what all of this is about. This is what the Bible teaches. Jesus Christ taught meditation. Jesus taught going within, and Jesus taught raising the sacred mother within you. It's the only way. If you don't do this, you're going to die, because what you're born as in this dualistic form is an electricity, and you fall and you fall and you skin your knees until, like Bruce Wayne, you say, I'm sick and tired of skinning my knees. It's time my enemy shared my dread. So he chose an image, a personification of something that scared him the most, a bat. And he became Batman, because it's time my enemy shared my dread. And you have to have the courage to do this. Ask and you shall receive. Seek and you shall find. Knock on any door and it shall be open for you. God is in pleasure. God is in delight to bring you the keys to heaven. If I can just quickly find that that quote again, I'll just share that. Oh, and while I'm here, you know, the Chicago song, such a great alchemical band, but the Chicago song 25 or 624, sitting cross-legged on the floor. Why is it that the perfect position for meditation is the lotus position? Because it forces you to cross your legs, cross affliction, cross Christ. Cruci in Latin
Which
is
actually
cross.
balances you, right?
And it creates perfect balance. It creates perfect balance. Tuck your
closes
chin.
the circuit.
It closes the circuit, and you tuck your chin, and then every passageway, including your spine, opens up perfectly in alignment. So this is why sitting cross-legged on the floor Christ, sitting cross-legged on the floor Christ, 25 or 624. What does that mean? It's code. It's code 25 or 624. 25, 2 plus 5 is 7. 7 is God intervention. Or 25 or 624. 6 to 4. Like it's written as 2 is a word, T-O, right? But that's not what it means. This is encoded. So 25 or. What is or? Gold. So
Okay, I love you.
so 7 is God intervention, or is gold, and 6 2 TO is 2 4 6 2 4 12. It's completion.
7 and 12.
7 golden in completion. The intervention of the divine intervention of God, which is the golden intervention, to connect with the 12, which is Jesus Christ. You're the one. So it's you know, and
Which
sitting
is the completion of the 30.
The whole story, exactly.
That's right.
And then the 7, you said something about scales, because yes, this is about balancing. Because when you atone, you're in balance. That's why God created the world in 6 days and, rested on the 7th, because it's the balance. And I
And
was listening.
what's today? And it's almost today.
It is
Almost the Sabbath.
This is the Sabbath day. This is the Saturn day. This is the 7th day, which is Saturday. Saturday is the Sabbath day, which is, you know, part of the reason why we chose tonight. And the rain, normally this would just come pouring down like gangbusters, and it hasn't. So it's a miracle. It's another one of these little, it's a little, but it's a miracle nonetheless.
Isn't
So
it funny that the crown sits on your head? You know what I mean? Just like right above, it rests on your head. Isn't that amazing? Whatever.
because the crown is levitating above you, because it's all with the crown is always there. You have to levitate up to it. You have to rise up to it. And so rise, ye lambs, until you become lions.
Purple
Okay.
rain.
Rise,
Okay,
rise, Charlie.
everybody,
let's
we
go.
love you.
We love you.
We love
I think
you.
the miracle has ended.
Thank you for sharing this
Welcome.
beautiful night with us.
Welcome to episode 1, and we'll be back next week with episode 2. This is going to be so much fun. And the rainy season is coming to an end. We're September 11th. So it ends usually at the end of September here. So
We'll see, says the wise man.
Y'all take care, everybody. We love y'all.
Love you guys.